There we go. Hey, everybody. Welcome to the first live stream of 2025. How's everybody doing? Looks like there's a bunch of people in already. Clint from Black Box Cages is in already. I don't want Handsome Dan on my hat yet. Hi, everyone. Let's see. I'm just looking. I had some technical difficulties all the way up until the very end of this thing, and but that's all right. I think we got it figured out. Hi guys, hi everybody. Allison, Crisis Corpse, Raven's Den, Katie's here. I have Katie's sister waiting backstage. Everybody, say hello to producer Amy.
Hey.
Hi, Amy.
Are you still getting feedback?
Let's see if I still am getting feedback. No, you fixed it. You fixed it.
Great.
Well done. Well done.
Hi, friends.
So Amy is here for a very important thing as producer of the live streams. Not only does she compile my Q&A questions, but she also will let me know if a super chat comes up that I miss. And speaking of which, I might mention this later because people are just jumping in now. But if you're new and you ask a question, just ask it and then look at the chat because people in the chat will answer your question. But if you want me to see your question or your comment, super chat it. That'll draw my attention to it. And if it doesn't, it'll draw Amy's attention to it and she'll tell me. So there we go. Everybody's saying hi to Amy. Okay, Amy, see you later.
Bye, guys.
Okay. All right. Katie, thanks. Fabulous interview on Adam's video today. Such an expert. Yeah, that was silliness. Wiccan's Wicked Reptiles already posted their video. I don't know if he's doing more than one. He may be doing more than one. But he had a very silly video that I was in. It was super fun. Mystic Drake, you know what? We might show Pip today. She ate last night, but she didn't have a very big meal. So she just got basically, I had set up her cage a long time ago before the video came out where we showed her cage being built at Black Box Cages. She'd been in it for like 2 months. And the only substrate that I had at the time that wasn't big cocoa husk was just wood chips. And I didn't like it at all. So, oh, Lori, you're so sweet. Thank you for this super chat. Hi, Amy. Hi, Bob. This is from Marie, Bendy, and Darwin. Oh, my gosh. Those snakes of yours are rich, Lori. I don't know where they get their cash, but I appreciate it. You're the best, and I love all those snakes. I produced Marie and Bendy, for those of you wondering. Anyway. Had her on wood chip. I just posted a short video. Some of you may have seen it where we gave her a bioactive enclosure yesterday. I just changed her substrate basically. I took out all her stuff, pulled the wood chip, and gave her soil, and then kind of a plant, one live plant that does better in drier conditions because I don't want that. You know, she's a Australian sort of desert species, so we're not trying to have a super humid environment in there. But she's getting used to her new cage. But because she's a pretty confident snake, I knew that even though she was clearly not too comfortable with the dirt, I still knew she would eat. So I figure if she takes a meal and then goes into her hide, that would be a good way for her to get used to things. Speaking of taking a meal, I also posted a thing the other day saying that I wasn't feeding my snakes yet because of the evacuation. And so I'll give you an update on that real quick. In fact, here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to update you on the fires and my situation. And then every time somebody pops in and asks about the fires, you guys can just give a quick review. So the deal is we're kind of doing well right now as far as the weather goes. As of yesterday, they took the sort of weather warning off of my area, and they said it was going to be like that. The weather was going to be pretty decent for the next few days. So the fires are not close enough to me to be, to be any concern unless the Santa Ana winds were crazy. and they're not for the next few days. So I took this opportunity to feed those snakes that were waiting for food, including Pip. The winds are supposed to kick up again. I think they said maybe Monday or something. So we might be back into a fairly dangerous situation, but we'll see. Anyway, things are safe right now. This is a fairly safe zone. I'm confident in feeding my snakes and letting them digest for several days before we might be in another dangerous situation. So we'll see. So that's that. But anyway, my point about talking about Pip was that when I put her in the cage, I was doing short clips in this little short, if you've seen it. So I didn't really cover this, but she checked out the dirt and then she immediately went on top of her little jewelry box hide and tried to crawl up the sides, and then eventually made her way sort of quickly around to the top of her she has a big hide that's just another level for her. She doesn't use it as a hide, but she stayed up on that for a while until she eventually decided to go back onto the dirt. And it dawned on me that she's never seen dirt before in her life. I mean, she's a year and a half old. I'm sure the breeder that I got her from kept her on paper, or maybe husk or something like that, but I'm sure it wasn't like bioactive soil, because he's a breeder. And I have always had her on paper until I moved her to the cage, and she was on wood chips. So this is her first time being on dirt. Anyway, I just saw that Spencer from the Royals Project is in. Hey, Spencer. So good hanging out with you this weekend. Spencer was with me at the Pomona show. That was really fun. You're going to see him in the video on Monday. My Pomona show video is coming out on Monday. Jay Blue Eyes, thanks for the super chat. I have a young dragonfly pied DG. Poshead DG. That's Desert Ghost. If she was yours, what would you pair her to? Plenty of time. She is only 190 grams. Glad everyone is safe. I would definitely get her shed tested if she's Poshead Desert Ghost to see if she's in fact Desert Ghost. And then once she grows up and you decide, if you decide that you in fact do want to breed her, you would put her with a Desert Ghost male, preferably a visual, because if it turns out that she is Desert Ghost or is het for, 100% het for Desert Ghost, then putting her with a visual male would give you 50% of the clutch would be visual Desert Ghosts, and the rest would be 100% het Desert Ghosts. And then that male, visual Desert Ghost with whatever incomplete dominant and dominant genes you can get with it would be helpful. Desert Ghost is a great morph to have. Okay, so scrolling down. Phil, thanks for the super chat. 70-inch TV, nice. Nice, you're watching me in big size. Okay, that's cool. Glad you're here, Phil. All right. What was I saying? Something about the show. So yeah, the Pomona show was this weekend. This video that's coming out on Monday might be the most fun video I've done within the United States. It was such a fun video. I had a number of people with me, number of characters with me. Some of you, a small handful of you will recognize one of the people that I had with me, and you're going to freak out if you do recognize her. I didn't say who she is really in that video. I will in the next one that we do together. But we had a lot of fun at the show. It was a great time. And before the show on Friday, I met up with a whole bunch of the Horde of Keepers, my Patreon supporters. I organized a little dinner, drinks, get together at a place, and we had a good time. It was fun. So that was for anybody that was local and anyone who was flying in that was a Patreon supporter, member of the Horde of Keepers. And that's always cool because we have a really fun community there. of people chatting with one another. They get to know each other, but a lot of times they don't ever get to meet in person. So it's cool when, and also I want to meet them in person, you know, so it's cool when we can all get together. So we will do more of those, and we will also do more herping adventures. In fact, I was just talking at length with Dave Kaufman about putting together a Patreon herping adventure. So more on that on Patreon. I'll just tell you guys more about that, the Patreon folks. But that's going to be a fun event guided by Dave Kaufman. It's going to be cool. Hopefully we can get that one put together. All right. So, by the way, Azara, we need to chat because I think you were the one who told me that you had a property available over in that area. Well, we're going to talk about it. This isn't a Patreon thing. We're going to talk. Let's get to this. This is what I'm drinking right now. This is Heaven Hill Bottled and Bond. It's it might be my favorite bourbon. It's one of my favorites. So we're going to do a little bit of that, and then I'm not going to. So this is what is this? 60 some proof. It's a. It's not going to tell me. There we go. Oh, it's I mean 100 proof. 100 proof. It's 50% alcohol. 100 proof. So it's a heavy one. And then we're going to switch to one of my favorite scotches. We're going to switch to Ardbeg after the Heaven Hill. So that's where we're at. Bottled and Bond, just a little whiskey thing. I've said this before. I think last time I was drinking Heaven Hill. Bottled in Bond just means that it adheres to certain requirements that the government has to call it bottled in bond. And those requirements were the first time that the US government ever put any regulations on anything that we put into our face hole. So that was the first food regulation that ever happened back in 1887. That's definitely not the right date. But whenever the Bottled and Bond Act happened, that was the first time the government ever regulated anything that we put in our mouth. So cheers to that. So good. And by the way, I think the main reason that they did it is that it had to do with taxes. They wanted to make sure they were getting their cut. Can't remember the full story, but that's the deal. All right, let's talk about snakes. Hi, Amy. Hang on. Amy's waving at me, as she does. Hi.
1897.
Did you look it up? 1897?
You were so close. You were
really
super close.
What did I say? 1874 or something?
You said, I think you said 1887, and it was 1897. So you're 10
Oh my
years off,
gosh.
but in the actual number, you were technically one number.
That's super close, because really, I don't think it's in my brain at all. I don't think, I knew it was probably the late 1800s, but thanks for that, Amy.
Although I'm drinking Ardbeg already. So.
Oh my gosh, you're doing Ardbeg 10? Is it the 10? Is it the Ardbeg 10? Oh, you're paused. Dang. We need to know this.
Yeah.
Oh wait, come back. Oh, it's the Core of Reckon. Did I buy that for you? Did I get that for you?
I'm sure you did. Yeah.
Oh.
Or you bought it for you and left it at my house.
That's right. I probably did. So the Core of Reckon is my favorite expression of Ardbeg. The 10 is very good. The Core of Reckon is better. So Amy is drinking.
It is delightful.
Yeah, I would say that's my favorite Scotch. It's tough though between that and Lagavulin, but yeah, it's good stuff.
I just realized there's a dog under there.
You guys, Garrett Hartle has jumped in the chat. Hi, Garrett. Good to see you, and so good to see you at the Pomona show. You guys, I'm just gonna say it here. I'm gonna show it in Monday's video, but Garrett is like a drug dealer, because he gifted me a snake, and I think he knows that, Garrett and I are good friends, and and he's got these house snakes that he loves, and he knows that I would love a house snake. But the deal is, it's one of those things where the first one's free, he knows I'm gonna probably want more. So so anyway, he gave me a really nice house snake. I'm excited about it. I'm going to show him to you in Monday's video. He's delightful. We're going to talk about him. We're going to talk about his name. I'm not going to tell you what it is now, but I'll tell you that as soon as Amy saw him, she said, "Oh, his name's Tango." Guess what, though? It's not. But she's been calling him Tango this whole time. Okay, Amy, thanks for being here. Oh, also, I love your hat.
Thank you.
Super dope. Okay. Oh, that's the one that you bought. I remember when you bought that. Okay.
I got it for Christmas. So fancy.
Yeah, I remember when you showed me that. Yeah. So Amy is over in Utah, by the way, you guys. So she is not affected by these fires because she lives in Utah.
So true.
Okay. Bye, Amy. All right. Chad, thanks for the super chat. This is simply the best channel on YouTube. Oh my gosh, that's so nice. I'm a new snake owner and your content has been so helpful. I spoke with Emily at Snake Discovery and she had nothing but great things to say about you. Oh, that's really sweet. I have nothing but great things to say about Emily. She and Ed both are delightful, delightful people. You know, I've said this a lot about the folks on the sort of social media YouTube world of the reptile hobby. The people that I've met, at least, that are on YouTube, including this guy right here, Mr. Garrett Hartle, are like nobody's faking when they roll their camera. Everybody pretty much talks and acts just like they are in person. I mean, even Dave Kaufman, it seems like he's ramping up his 90s radio voice, right? But he's not. That's how he is in person. So yeah, I really like, and definitely this all started because of Ed and Emily. Emily and Ed at Snake Discovery are exactly like they are in their videos. They're just really great people. So now Garrett's answering all these house snake questions. Garrett at the show was, I mean, every time I saw him, he had people around him talking about these house snakes because nobody knows about house snakes yet. I mean, they're starting to, but I think the sort of general public that comes into a reptile show they know nothing. They've never seen a house snake before. So Garrett is the guy to get people excited about a species, you know, and he was really working it at the show. And wait till you see T positive Garrett. If you haven't seen his videos lately, he is T positive Garrett right now. It's pretty great. All right. I'm sure that I was talking about something and I've jumped. I mean, we went through what I'm drinking, this Heaven Hill. Highly recommend Heaven Hill if you enjoy a good bourbon. All right, let's see what's on my clipboard here. By the way, I just want to mention, so, you know, I asked Patreon for questions to put on my clipboard here for the Q&A. And when I asked for people to give me questions, I had the same question from Justin Hall, Crisis Corpse, Candy's Critters, Jennifer Owens, and Betsy Youngbuck, as well as many people on YouTube just randomly asking, what is your evacuation plan? What's your emergency preparedness because of these fires? And by the way, I already said it right at the beginning of this, but I'm in a safe zone right now. Everything's good. And the weather's good for firefighting. So that's that. But because I got so many requests for that, I'm just making a full video. So that's coming out in a couple of weeks. That will answer that question. So then I told them, don't ask me that one. Ask me all the other questions. And so now we have a bunch of regular Q&A questions that don't have to do with emergency evacuation. Okay, great. So Handsome Dan on my hat here has been, he came out of his hide early this morning. Like as soon as he noticed that I was out, he crawled out of his hide. I've been putting him on the snake wall every day in this other room. And he's got a favorite plant that's just a potted pothos plant that's like this big. And he just curls up in the plant and sits there all day. So he's been there since morning. And he kind of threw a fit when I went to take him off the plant. He like grabbed the entire plant and he almost uprooted it because he's so freaking strong. And I had to like trick him, get him to go into a hide to get him off the plant. And so now I'm just leaving him alone on my hat so he can relax before I put him in the cage. Aquamarin, thanks for the super chat. Do snakes realize when we are eating? I have a voracious rosy boa who always comes to the enclosure door and once it opens when I'm eating next to it. That's probably a coincidence. You know, I don't think they understand us eating, and they certainly don't smell our food and think that that's food for them, because hopefully our food doesn't smell like rodents. I don't know. I don't know your cooking. I'm guessing it doesn't smell like rodents. Mine doesn't. So some people say that their snakes perk up when they smell bacon. But I cook bacon a lot and my snakes don't really react to that. Garrett says, I remember Handsome Dan from the auction. He was a bit of a bid war accident, right? Yeah, he was, Garrett, but it wasn't a bidding war. It was me just trying to the bidding had stalled and I was trying to keep the momentum going. So I just threw my hand up at a low price to keep the momentum going. And then nobody outbid me. And I didn't even know what he was at the time. I just knew that there was a snake up for auction. I had heard whatever they said the value was at like 1,600 or something, which is probably a little inflated at the time, but the bid was at like 450. So I threw my hand up for 500 and then nobody outbid me. And I was like, what did I even get? You were just being awesome for US ARC. Yes, that's right. I was happy to give $500 to US ARC. And Handsome Dan stuck around. He's now the mascot of Green Room Pythons. My one boa is the mascot for Green Room Pythons. And he was up until just a couple days ago, he was the only non-python in the green room. But now I got a house snake, which you'll see on Monday. Thanks for that, Garrett. He's pretty awesome. All right. Okay. Let's get started with this. Okay, this is a perfect question to go into after what we were just talking about. Dan Weber says, is the asking price on Handsome Dan still $250,000, or has it gone up considerably given his awesomeness? That's right. I had forgotten about that. I think maybe a week after I had him, I said that I was still willing to sell him, because when I first got him, I told you guys, I said, he's probably going to be available. He'll probably be available. And then a few days later, I was like, yeah, he's still available. He's $250,000. Yeah, he is. He's actually now, because he's grown in size. Snakes get a little more expensive when they're not hatchlings. So he's now $750,000. So that is, I think that's a pretty good deal. So if anybody is willing to take Handsome Dan off my hands, or off my hat, as it were, I'd love for you to have him for $750,000. That is the new price. That's US dollars, by the way. I want to be clear because there's other people in other countries. $750 US. Okay. That's a great question, Dan, and really good timing. Amy says, I knew the second you showed him to me that Handsome Dan was staying in the green room. You were instantly in love with that snake. Yeah, I mean, I did. I tell you what, I did. Honestly, I brought him home on Saturday night from the auction, and the plan was bring him back to the show on Sunday and trade him for a python of some sort, some species, some interesting python, and spending just that evening with him and then bringing him back to the show and walking around. There were a number of booths that were willing to trade, but I didn't find a python that I liked enough that I liked better than Handsome Dan. So he came back with me on Sunday. Amy, are you flagging me? Hi, Amy.
Tell you something that I think is really important. Katie McIntosh Clark says, I love Handsome Dan. He's the reason we added a boa and named him Gorgeous George.
I love it. Like the wrestler. Wasn't there an old-timey wrestler named Gorgeous George?
I think there was. I love that we now have a Handsome Dan, a Gorgeous George, and then Sam says she has a Banana Fire Freeway named Handsome Rob. Got like just a whole bunch of handsome snakes here in this community.
I love it. That's fantastic. That makes me so happy.
Okay, that's all.
Thanks for telling me that, Amy.
You're welcome.
Yeah, I love this guy. He's fantastic. I'm a big fan of Handsome Dan. Okay, next question. I'm just going to meander through these. I hope you don't mind. And eventually I'll put him back, and we'll get another snake up. Okay, Red Sonia says, what kind/locale of pygmy python is Pip, and who did you get her from, and what drew you to pygmy pythons? So this is a good question. There's some confusion with pygmy pythons. When you say the word pygmy python, some people think that you're just talking about Antaresia in general, but the pygmy python is a species of Antaresia. They're also called anthill pythons, and they're the smallest species. And they, as far as I know, there's no special locality because they come from a small region anyway, the Pilbara region of Australia. Hang on one second. Dark Moon Dragon, thanks for the super chat. We're going to finish that thing about Pip in a second. What would you take a Boland's python and would you take a Boland's python and trade for a Handsome Dan? Oh my gosh, dude, that's a tough question here, because here's the thing. When you all know that when you have a pet, you love a pet, and it's not the dollar amount. Like I joke for $750,000, but this is a pet that I absolutely love. But I do love Boland's pythons too. I think I probably would say no to that trade though. I mean, that is my #1 dream python to have, but I don't think that I would trade Handsome Dan for a Boland's python. You know, I think I would just wait until I could afford a Boland's python, honestly. So, what were we talking about? We were talking about the pygmy python. We'll get Pip out here in a second. So they come from a sort of small region anyway, and I don't think that there are, correct me if I'm wrong, if anybody knows if there are specific different localities for the pygmy or the anthill python. But so who did you get them from? I don't remember. Fairly small breeder out of Florida. You know, they're not often available. So I saw one on Morph Market. I researched the breeder a little bit. I don't off the top of my head remember the name of the breeder. And they seemed like they knew what they were doing, and they didn't have any complaints. So I bought her. And then what drew you to Antaresia? The pygmy python is the smallest python in the world, and that's what I wanted. I figured if I was going to get an Antaresia, you know, the small pythons, every species of Antaresia is small. I wanted the smallest. So if you're going small, you want to go small, right? In 1 second, I just got confused by something here. Okay. All right. I'm gonna put Handsome Dan back as soon as I get Christopher's super chat. Thanks for this, Christopher. Picking up my first snake tomorrow. Your videos have been by far the most helpful. Thank you. Oh, that's fantastic. Congrats on your first snake, Christopher. That's awesome. So exciting. Man, every snake that you get is exciting, but that first snake is usually nerve-wracking for most people, right? Am I right, you guys? And nerve-wracking, but also very exciting. Yes, Jason, that's right. Pilbara region in Australia. That's what we were talking about, that they come from that region. But are there localities within the Pilbara region? I don't think so. I think that's a pretty small region of Australia. All right, let me get Handsome Dan off my hat. This guy is a fighter, man. He does not like when I decide to move him from wherever he happens to be. He does this. He does all this craziness with his body, all this boa-ness. So I'm gonna put him back. Hold tight, hang tight. Amy, do you want to say hi to the folks? It's only going to take me a second, but
okay. So Bob, we were talking about how Handsome Dan has a bunch of handsome and gorgeous friends.
Yeah.
Named kind of similarly to him. And Garrett says that he is officially naming one of his house snakes Bootylicious Bob.
I love that,
Now,
Garrett.
several people have jumped on board, and that is going to be the next name of several people's next snakes.
I love it. That is fantastic. Thank you for catching me up with the chat that I'm missing. That's hysterical, you guys. You know, I go through, I told you guys this before, but for those of you who are new, I go through and I read the chat the next day. So I am reading all your comments. I'll see them, but I won't be able to reply to them because this is the live chat, right? But there are so many conversations that happen and so many like really great questions that I missed that I'm like, oh man, I wish I could have gotten in on this. But so thanks for catching me up on that, Amy.
You're welcome.
Appreciate it. Okay. So who should we get out next, you guys? Oh, Pip. Let's get Pip since we were talking about her. In fact, we'll do that right now. Amy, I'm bringing you back. Do you have any other ones to catch me up on?
I mean, earlier somebody asked if you would shout out their daughter.
Yes.
But my YouTube crashed and now I can't see who it was because it was too long ago. If that was you, put it in the chat room one more time.
All right, let's put Pip up here. She ate 24 hours ago. It wasn't a very big meal, but she also hasn't been sitting on her heat.
Hi, Pip.
So here, Amy, I'm going to remove you to make me bigger, or make Pip bigger anyway. So she's over 12 inches at this point. She might be 14 inches or something. Pretty crazy. She's getting long. Cute little snake. See if we can we can't. I can't here. I've gotta get rid of my face so the camera, wait, this way. Here we go. So the camera figures out what to focus on. It's really tough though. Hang on. Just gonna manually do this. Nope. Yeah, we can't see her eyes with the camera. So she has very tiny eyes, but they're bright orange. And I mean, it's almost like two little lights in her head. They're so bright, but it's hard for the camera to pick it up. So she's doing good. I'm going to put her back. She's in a little jewelry box hide donated by one Amy Bentley. It's her favorite hide because it's one that she can fit tightly in. Black Box Cages also made her a hide, which is really cool. They made her a little tiny hide with the Black Box Cages logo on it. It's really cute. but it's still a little bit big for her. It's going to be perfect for her when she's a little bigger. But she sits in it sometimes, but it's still a little spacious for her, I think. So this new bioactive cage that she has, you know, I don't know how much they dig into the dirt. Like, I don't know if they burrow under the dirt or whatever, but I've got leaf litter. I've got all kinds of stuff. So I kind of was wondering, am I making it so I'm never going to see this snake again? You know, with all this stuff and the bioactive and everything. I don't know. We'll see. But anyway, I like her a lot. Okay, she's going back. Amy, you're coming back too. There we go. Hi,
Hey.
Amy.
Oh. I think I have a guest at my house because both of my dogs just jumped up and ran away from me.
Did you figure out what that shout out was?
Yes. Thank you, Candy's Critters, for going back and finding that for me. Ben Lancaster asked you to say hi to his daughter, Ainsley. Also, it's me. Katie's here.
Wait a second. Hang on. Hi, Katie.
I'm going to go upstairs and watch with Pete.
Okay. Nice to see you, Katie. Wait, tell me the daughter's name again.
Ainsley.
Ainsley. Hi, Ainsley. I'm so glad you're here. I'm so glad you're watching the live stream. Snake Treasures. Hi, Tara. I've heard that JD Honey Whiskey is a no. You like it? You're liking the honey whiskey? Yeah, I told Tara the other day that I'm not really a flavored whiskey person. But for people who don't drink whiskey, a flavored whiskey is just a liqueur. Like, it's not even really whiskey. But it's super sweet, you know, and very tasty for people that aren't used to actually drinking whiskey. And I totally get it. Anyway, so hi to Ainsley. Glad you're here. Katie's here. Brady. So Katie and Brady are both upstairs watching. Hi, Brady. That's how I say hi to Brady all the time. That's great. All good friends of mine, and also all three of them are Patreon supporters separately. Amy and her husband Brady are separate Patreon supporters, which is lovely.
Let's go. I miss you.
I miss you too, but I'm removing you. I'll bring you back. Okay. Hang on. Let me get. So when Amy puts this together for me, she has snake requests. She wants to see Ron, Bella, Koa, and Evie. Many of you probably don't even know who Bella and Koa are unless you've seen my most recent videos. They're my carpet pythons, or a carpet python and a Brettles python. Evie is working on some eggs, so I'm not going to pull her out. But Ron is available. He hasn't been out for a while. And he's just right here. Hi, buddy. Look at this guy. Look at this handsome guy. Moniz, thanks for the super chat. Put a question. If you had a question or a comment with that, put it below. Thanks for that. Put that below and I'll address it when it comes in. And Amy will probably look for it. Red Sonia, same thing. Put a question or comment below that and I will address it. Thanks for that super chat. I appreciate you guys. That's really nice. So here's Ron. You guys haven't seen Ron in so long, I think. I just don't hardly ever bring him out during live streams. I don't know why. But he has produced some of the coolest babies that have come out of the green room. This guy. And he is, for those of you wondering, he is spot nose, inchy, asphalt. And asphalt is a magical morph that produces freeways and does some cool stuff. He looks calico, right? I mean, this looks calico, but that's the asphalt. Yes, Tara, he is Naomi's dad for sure. A lot of you have offspring from Ron. Okay, where's my questions? Let's get back to these. Lori Weiser is asking if I'll do any meetups in Florida. Last time I was in Florida, I did just a special meetup with Lori. I met her for the first time when I was at Animal Con, and I think this year for Animal Con, hopefully I can make it. And if I do, Amy, are you flagging me down? Okay. If I do, I will go a day early and we'll do a full-on Patreon situation meetup. Hi, what you got?
I have been trying to flag you down for more than a minute.
Sorry.
Red Sonia says, so what's the peanut butter bourbon like?
Oh, I mean, it depends on the brand, but there is a brand called Skirball that is, again, it's not whiskey. They say it's peanut butter flavored whiskey. It's not, if it's flavored, it's not whiskey. It's just a liqueur, but it is tasty. And if you mix half Skirball or Screwball, I think it's Screwball. Yeah. If you mix half Screwball peanut butter whiskey with Sprite, it tastes like buttered popcorn. And I've tried it and it does. It's ridiculous. It's really weird. But I don't feel like I'm drinking whiskey when I do that. I'm just drinking a drink, you know? So, and it's also really the only one that I've tried where I don't go, oh, this is kind of gross. Like it's actually pretty good. So
pretty good. Brady likes it.
Yeah.
Okay, and then your other super chat that did not have a question attached. Where'd it go?
Or no,
Moniz says, do you still have the super pretty orange and black ball python?
I mean, yes, if we're talking about Tiger Lily, but I've produced a lot of really pretty orange and black ball pythons. But I still have Tiger Lily, and she is super pretty. Hang on. This one right here. She's more yellow and brown and white now. I'm not going to pull her out of her Glenlivet sleeve. Ron apparently has, what's that?
She said, that's it, Tiger Lily.
That's it? Okay, cool. Maybe I'll fully bring her out a little bit later. Ron apparently had the same idea Handsome Dan did. Okay, is that it, Amy, for the catching me up?
Maybe. Katie just sent you a super chat and didn't have a question, so.
Katie, you're the best. Oh, she sent me a super sticker. So that's going to show up.
Sticker.
Yeah, I figured out what those are. I can't see what the super sticker is, but I'll be able to see it tomorrow when I go back and look at the chat. I figured that out after several times getting a super sticker and going, I don't even know what that is. I've finally figured it out. It's a cute little sticker.
You and me can't see them because we're watching the chat room in StreamYard, not on YouTube.
We're on the StreamYard interface, and so we can't see the super sticker. Yeah, that's right. So how's Ron Frat Hat Band? I mean, cool, right?
So handsome.
He looks good, yeah.
You have another super chat, by the way.
Oh, let me scroll down to that. Logan, thanks for the super chat. Here, Amy, I'm going to remove you. See in a bit. Thanks for the super chat, Logan. How do I go about making a career out of working with reptiles and other animals? Oh, that's a great question, Logan. I'm guessing that you are young, meaning in school still of some sort. I would say go for a degree in biology. If I was just telling Lucy this, you guys, those of you who know who Lucy is, she wants to be a marine biologist, which is, I think, is really cool because she's kind of a rock star and she could just end up being a rock star. But I was telling her if I went back to school, I mean, I could, I guess, but if I went back to school, I'd go for a biology degree for sure. It wouldn't be marine, it'd probably be something to do with reptiles, but I wish I was a biologist. So Logan, I would say that, you know, there are ways that you could go, you know, working at a zoo, volunteering at a zoo, and just doing that kind of stuff. But getting a degree in biology can open up so many doors, you know, and it also will expand the interests that you have with regard to animals. Like you might end up getting into a different type of animal that you're not currently into right now. You know, I think that's a good idea. If anybody else has advice for Logan, put it in the chat. Crisis Corpse, thanks for the super chat. Ruger, normal ball python, says hi. She will be 21 in March. Keep up the fun. I love that. I love hearing about older ball pythons. That's great. Hi to Ruger. And that's the thing. Those older ones are normals, right? Because that was before we started working with morphs. So I love when people have older. I mean, I guess we had morphs 20 years ago, but still, it was much more common to have a normal ball python at that point. That's fantastic. Ron, how you doing, buddy? You're showing off that guitar-shaped head stamp perfectly right now, pal. Thanks for showing us your awesome head stamp. Look at that, you guys. That is a full-on guitar shape. What a nice boy this guy is. He doesn't come out very often because he's not out of his hide very often. Like, he's not trying to come out very much. But when he does come out, he's just this guy. He's just the nicest. I have several males that are like that. They don't, the Sundance Kid is the same way. He doesn't ever try to come out. He's always in his hide. But when he comes out, he's just perfect. He's great. Really cool. Well socialized snakes. I kind of usually just let them do whatever they want to do. I have other ball pythons that come out much more often because they're trying to come out much more often, you know? Okay. I'm trying to drink my whiskey, but I don't want to tilt my head too far back because I'll lose my hat and my snake if I do. It's a whole problem. All right. Okay. Back to this clipboard. I don't know where we're at. I'll find it though. Don't even worry. Oh, this is a great question. Crisis Corpse asks, which of the species that you keep do you find the most challenging and why? So I don't find any snakes particularly challenging to keep. They're like, none of them are challenging. But if I'm going to rank them, I would say the black-headed pythons are the trickiest. And there's a couple of reasons. Number one is their feeding. They have much faster metabolisms than the other pythons. So feeding them a smaller prey item more often is I think, a little bit better to do. Although I might be changing that strategy and just to see how they do, kind of as an experiment. But what I've been doing is feeding them twice a week, which is extra work, right? To feed them twice a week rather than once a week or once every 2 weeks. You know, normally a snake that's 2,200 grams like Maya would be fed once every 14 days. And as it is, she gets fed a very small meal once every 4 days. So, but the other, Amy, thanks for posting the Discord link in the chat. Somebody was probably asking for it. But I just saw that you posted it. But here's the biggest issue that I deal with. You know, when I post my short videos, especially on Instagram, that just shows my snakes free roaming, it'll just be a bunch of quick cuts of my free roaming snakes. That gets all kinds of views, and people who aren't really into snakes have all sorts of questions. And the main one they ask about is poop. They go, oh my God, there's probably poop all over your house. And so what I explain to them is that snakes have very slow metabolisms, and my snakes generally poop about once every 5 weeks or so, 4 or 5 weeks. And it's usually in the middle of the night in their cage. And that's my standard answer, but it doesn't apply to Maya. It doesn't apply to the black-headed pythons. And it would be Banjo also, but he doesn't free roam because he's still too small to free roam. But they eat a meal every 4 days, and then they're ready to poop. And Maya has figured out that if she poops outside of her cage, then her cage won't smell, like her den won't smell. I think it probably feels safer for her to do it somewhere else, because her you know, she what's the word that I'm trying to think of? Her instinct, it's just the word instinct, simple word. Her instinct is that she doesn't want her den to smell like her as much, so she does outside. So she waits until she's out here and poops. And so when I bring her out, I have to follow her around to clean up whenever she decides to poop. So it's becoming a bit of an issue, and what I've decided to do is experiment with feeding them once a week to see how they do on it, and then I won't have to worry about as much like a poop every time she comes out. You know, it's not every time, but it's probably every 2 or 3 times that she comes out. So, well, that's crazy. That's a long answer to that question. It was a good question though, Crisis Corpse. That is the most challenging snake, but still not a big deal. They're not hard to take care of. Logan, thanks for the super chat, asking how did I start working with reptiles? Well, I was working with reptiles as a young child because I was catching them and then keeping them. My parents let me keep reptiles when I was pretty young. I had a whole bunch of mainly lizards, but I had a rough green snake when I was a kid, and then I had just the little snakes that I caught. I was fortunate as a young child to live across the street from a meadow. It was basically a forest, but it was a meadow. So we caught a lot of frogs because there was a stream right there. So there was a lot of tadpole catching and frog catching and the occasional snake catching. Oh, and also salamanders, tons of salamanders out there. Here's how we're going to do this. Okay. Good question, Logan. Thanks for that super chat. All right. Okay. Back to the clipboard. I'm going to see if Ron wants to go back, and he's a little squirrely. See if he wants to go back. Hang on one second. I'm just going to let him. It's going to take a minute because I'm just going to let him do it himself. Maybe I'll help him a bit. Okay. All right, pal, your choice. Yeah? Okay. All right. Now we got to find another snake to have out. Best Rap, thanks for the super chat. My husband, Bill Bridwell, says hi to Kent. I will let Kent know. Hi, Bill. I will let Kent know, and I'm sure Kent will say hi back. I'm sure he will because he's polite like that. All right. Thanks for that super chat. Okay. We are well into this live stream, and we're still only on page 1. But I appreciate the 215 of you that are watching currently. That's great. Crisis Corpse just asked, can we see Echo? I just happened to notice this. We can't because Echo is deep in shed. But you can see Stella. We can bring. I'll just open Stella's door, and she'll come out. Can you guys see Handsome Dan right here? I usually have my other camera that I can put on those, but I was having problems with it. And those of you who attend my live streams know that every time I do the slightest bump or move of that second camera, it shuts off. So I just unplugged it. So we only have this one camera, but Handsome Dan is apparently not ready to go back in his hide. Oh, and Banjo's out too. Oh my gosh. That's cool. But here's Stella. Oh, you can't even see. Hi. Hi, would you like to come out? It's not food, baby. It's just me. Could you, I don't know that you could see that she was reaching out. Maybe you could. Hi, would you like to come out? Come on. All right, we'll just see what she wants to do. Let me scoot over here. That way you can watch her while we do these from the side. We'll see what Stella decides to do. I think she thinks I'm feeding right now because she's in that position. But I think what she's going to do is she's going to eventually go that way and then go up. And I'll grab her at some point. Okay. So while we're doing that, Jenna asks, how are the Morelia doing? They're doing great. They're doing really well. And we'll show off them also. Look at this. Look how right I am. Stella's already starting to do exactly what I said. She's going to go that way, and then she'll go up. She's going to get to that cage, and then she'll go up. All right, so don't let me forget to bring Koa and or Bella out. I'm pointing to their cages like you guys can see, but you can't see their cages. All right. Next question from Jenna. When you get a new snake, do you have blood and fecal tests done? We are getting a new Brettles from Nick. That would be Nick Mutton. And I have only ever done a vet check and fecal testing. I've only ever done a vet check and fecal testing. Yeah, no, I absolutely don't. If I was getting, it's up to you how much you want to do with a new snake. But for me, if I was getting a wild caught animal that was right out of the wild, which I wouldn't do anyway, because that's something that I try to rail against for most keepers. That kind of thing would be good for a a fecal and a blood test would be the thing to do for a wild caught animal. But generally, from a reputable breeder, especially someone like Nick Mutton, who is like super fastidious about cleanliness and has a closed group, and I mean he really knows what he's doing. That is not something you have to worry about as far as but I mean, it doesn't hurt to do it. So if you want to do it for peace of mind, go for it. But I don't. I make sure that I'm buying from reputable breeders, and I don't buy wild caught animals. So I don't do that. And then so the next question, and once those come back, do you switch from paper towels to substrate even though they're still in quarantine? The paper towels for quarantine are mainly for mites, so that you can see mites, and mites have about a 30-day period from going from egg to where you can see them is somewhere around 30 days. But when I have a snake in quarantine, I keep them on paper all the time. Also because you can see their feces better when they poop. You can see if there's a problem with it or something abnormal with it when it's against a paper towel, rather than if they're pooping on cocoa husk or something like that, you wouldn't be able to see it as easy. So that's what I do for that. There's Handsome Dan and Stella saying hello to each other from the glass. I wish you guys could see it a little closer. I mean, she's just looking for food. She's clearly in food mode. If it was Echo, I wouldn't put my arm out because she would bite it for sure, looking for food. But Stella never does. She could be in full-on food mode, never strike, always checks first before she strikes. She's super polite like that. Excuse me. Next question. This is from Nick and Julia. How do you keep your free-roaming snakes from knocking over your potted plants? Are they affixed to the shelving in some way? Why, yes, they are. That's a great question. This one, oh, that's not the plant moving. It's the shelf itself moving because the screw got loose. But yes, these are affixed with museum wax. And so not only do I have the little tray, the base affixed to the shelf, but the pot, unless it's already permanently affixed, the pot is museum puttied to the tray. So all of them, I have some new plants that I got at the reptile show that I haven't repotted yet, and I just set them down. But I've got this one that's I think is cool. It's nice to get other colors that aren't just green. And then I got a Swiss cheese vine at the reptile show that I will repot and put somewhere. I never leave the reptile show without a plant, at least a plant, usually more than one. Yeah, so that museum putty seems to work pretty well. BD Lexon, thanks for the super chat. Just a super chat, but everyone could hit the like button. Oh, that's really nice. BD Lexon, thanks so much for that super chat. I appreciate it. And yeah, if you guys are enjoying the, don't lie about it, but if you're enjoying the live stream, hit the like button. My whole thing just froze up. So I'm going to hit Crisis Corpses, Pretty Plants. Thank you. Appreciate that. Okay. Maybe I'm unfroze. Yeah, I'm now unfroze. Is everything good as far as the video and the sound quality right now, you guys? By the way, I don't ever know until I rewatch the thing the next day if the video was going crazy, or like if it was skipping or pixelating or whatever, and then if the sound is weird. I decided not to wear my mic today. This is behind the scenes stuff. I've just set it here, so I assume it's all right. Okay, everybody's saying it's good, loud and clear. Great, good to know. All right, Amy, thanks so much for this super chat. Amy Olson says, suggestions on how to preserve old skin sheds. I keep my snake's first sheds home for sentimental reasons. I want to keep the sheds so I can see how much they have grown. My recommendation, Amy, is that you make sure it's really dry, clean and dry, and then slip it in like in between paper or in between like in a plastic. They can keep in a plastic bag. I think I don't keep sheds, but I know that you can. Like you can put it in the chat, you guys, if you have a better answer for this, because I'm not super experienced with keeping them for years. But I have kept sheds for a while at least, and just dry in a plastic bag does really well. Thanks for that super chat. Allison Young, thanks for the super chat. I'm building my first enclosure this weekend, and I'm worried that if I use paper towel instead of cocoa husk, the humidity won't work as well. Yeah, so what you do with that, if this is just a temporary thing, first of all, if temporarily for quarantine, your humidity is a little bit lower than normal, that's not that big of a deal. But what I do with my snakes that are on paper towel for quarantine is I'll just make the paper towel a little bit wet, not the whole thing, but a portion of it a little bit wet each day. I'll just take their water dish and dump a little bit out. So I don't want them sitting in the wet all the time. So the majority of the paper towel is still dry, but maybe a quarter of it or something is wet. Jason, good advice. Paper envelopes are better than plastic because they can still dry more. Yeah, that's true. Good call. Thanks for those super chats, you guys. That's really nice. Did I already? Just pouring a bit more of this Ardbeg. Look how light this Ardbeg is for those of you. And this is a clear bottle. So this is the darkness of a bourbon, and this is the darkness of a Scotch. And the reason is that bourbon is aged in a new American oak barrel. It has to be new for it to be a bourbon, and certainly to be bottled and bond. It has to be aged in a new oak bourbon barrel. So this is the color that comes out of the oak when you're aging it in fresh oak. Scotch buys used barrels from the Scotch producers, buys used barrels from America, and they get shipped to Scotland, and that's what they're aging their Scotch in. So Scotch is this color, unless they color it artificially, which Ardbeg doesn't, but it's this color because the color has already been seeped. Most of the color from the barrel has already gone into that bourbon, and now you do another run through with the Scotch, and it's less color but a little bit more flavor because the bourbon that's soaked into those barrels, into the wood, seeps into that Scotch a little bit. Kind of interesting. A lot of people think that if their whiskey is light colored, that it's not good whiskey, but that's not true. It just means that it was aged differently. By the way, Scotch is whiskey. Bourbon is whiskey. Scotch is whiskey. Irish is whiskey. It's all whiskey, just different types of whiskey. All right, there's that. So good. Ardbeg. So delicious. Okay, here we go. Nifter's Critters. Jen says, do you have any advice on keeping plants alive? I want to transition to bioactive with some of my reptiles. I'd like to include plants, but absolutely terrible at keeping plants alive. The cool thing about bioactive is that you don't have to keep the plant alive like you would in a pot. I think most people have trouble keeping plants alive because, first of all, they might buy plants that are just tough to keep alive, like my fiddle leaf fig plant. Don't buy a fiddle leaf fig plant, you guys. It's terrible. In a bioactive, all I do with the plants in the bioactive is when I change waters, I dump the old water. Most of the time, I dump the old water into the soil, and the plants do fine. They die if my snake kills it, you know. But otherwise, you don't really have to do much to the plants. SoCal Herbs, thanks for the super chat. Should have had you on the Whiskey Wimps with Brian and myself. Yeah, you should have, Matt. You absolutely should have. I just realized through context clues that SoCal Herbs is my friend Matt. Yeah, dude, you should have. But that's no more, right? You guys don't do that anymore? It would have been fun to do. Okay. Thanks for that super chat. Where am I at here? Leah St. Clair says, I've heard that some people use soiled substrate as fertilizer for plants. Thoughts? Yeah, I think it's great for, especially for outdoor. I wouldn't use it indoor, but cocoa husk is great for plants. And if it's soiled, you know, that's just fertilizer, I guess. I think any kind of like poop is good food for plants. Am I right about that? I think so. Like I said, I don't use it, but I would, if I had a bunch of plants outside that I was caring for, I definitely would keep the cocoa husk that I throw away when I you know, on cleaning day. J Bones 1987. Thanks for the super chat. Are you scared of your boa or super dwarf bites when grown? No. No. I'm not. None of those snakes will get very big. Oh, by the way, speaking of screw. Oh, you didn't go up. Look at that. She's still right there. Okay, so I was wrong. It looked like she was on her way, though, right? Were you guys watching her? It looked like she was on her way. So this one will probably be the biggest out of those three. Handsome Dan is not going to get huge. Echo's not going to get very big. Stella won't get very big either, but she'll probably be the biggest out of all of them. And the bites, you know, it's really not that big of a deal. And Echo is really the only one that does it ever. Handsome Dan never does. Stella never does. And if I'm paying attention, I'm pretty good at understanding their body language and not getting bit. But as many of you know, I don't always pay attention. So maybe when they're bigger, I will pay attention more because those bites will be a little more significant, you know. That's a good question. All right, we're on to another page. Kevin DB says, how do you go about attaching things, fake plants, etc., to the inside of your enclosures? I have a new PVC enclosure and I'm reluctant to put as many holes in the new one as the old one. Good question. I don't attach anything. I just set stuff in there. And I will be attaching. Vivian, thanks for the super chat. Hold on one second. I'm going to get to it. I will be attaching some stuff to the top of cages in the future. And I'm just going to use little screws. You know, you just screw a little thing, a little eye hole thing that's on a screw. That's how I will do it. But currently there's nothing attached. Oh, actually, my probes are attached with hot glue. So that's what I would do. If I was attaching something, I would use hot glue because that works well. And once it's cured, it's safe for snakes. So Vivian, thanks so much for this super chat. Thank you for the how to find your snake video. My baby corn escaped a new enclosure. Oh my gosh, my novice fault for not noticing the gap by the lock. He's still missing after 2 weeks, but that video was helpful and comforting. Okay. Yeah. Good luck. I thought you were going to tell me that you found him. That's such a bummer. Corn snakes are squirrely, and a baby corn snake, you got to really keep your eyes open. But best of luck. Let me know when you find that little one. That's pretty common though. Don't feel bad. It's very common to have a new enclosure, new snake. They're escape artists, you know. When I tell you what, when Garrett gave me that house snake, he was like, look, even if you think you have it in a secure thing, it will get out. You got to be really careful. So I have him in the quarantine room. I have a rack in the quarantine room, and the rack is super tight, like the tubs fit tightly in there, and there isn't any big holes, like air holes. So it's got small air holes, but nothing you can fit through. But there are certain snakes that are super wiggly. All right. Let's get a snake. Let's get a Amy. Can I bring you back?
Mm-hmm.
Hi. Are you eating food? Hey, look at that dog. Look, is that Indy?
Mm-hmm.
Look at Indy, you guys. That's one of my favorite dogs in the world. Hang on, I'm gonna get a snake. It might take me a minute because I don't know what they're wrapped around right now.
Okay. Hey, everybody in my house got a really big kick out of this, so I'm going to tell you because I know you won't see it until tomorrow. But
Okay.
while you were describing like the differences in like bourbon and Scotch and everything, let's see, who was it? It was Professional Lurker says, I think that you just called Scotch Bourbon Light. And we all really liked that.
That's funny. Scotch is okay. Hold on. I'm gonna take you off so I can show Koa here. Here's Koa, the little Brettles python. Let's get this thing focusing. Fortunately, I've got him in the wrong hands to control my focus. Hang on one second. So, oh, shoot, we got it. So Koa is super pretty, 100% hypo Brettles python. The gene, the morph for hypo in Brettles is weird. It's it comes from several genes, like 4 different ones. So when we say 100% hypo, that means that he has all 4 of the genes that makes hypo. You could be 50% hypo and still have some of the hypo coloration, having only 2 of the genes. But he will, as he grows, he'll just get redder and redder and redder. More red, redder, more red. Yes, I would say that, bourbon and Scotch taste very different. And within Scotch, there's a massive difference in flavors where it tastes like you're drinking a completely different type of whiskey. Whereas bourbon, I pretty much know, with the exception of some outliers that taste super wacky, you pretty much know a bourbon. You know that you're drinking a bourbon. But if you didn't know Scotches from all over Scotland and you drank one and you went, okay, this is what Scotch tastes like, and then you drink another, you'd be like, what is this? What type of liquor even is this? So look at this head stamp. Let's see. I don't know if you can see it. He's got such a tiny head that it's not going to focus on it. Sorry, guys. So he and let's see, hang on. Scrolling down. So little Koa and Bella, my coastal carpet python, have proven to be very confident little snakes. I would say that out of the 2 of them, Koa is the most nervous, if he's ever nervous, but it's always just when he's being picked up, but never defensive. Neither one of them have ever even thought about striking. But he, you know, if I go in to just pick him up, he flinches a little bit. So I try to use a hook because that's less startling for him. And then Bella, the carpet python, is just like, she's fine with whatever, you know. Jake, we do have siblings. You got the one. I believe that you got the one. Did we talk about this? I think we did. You got the one that I was going to get, and then I changed my mind and got this one instead. And then I saw that you got that one that I was going to get. Am I right? Did we talk about that? If we did, if we had that conversation, then you do have a clutch mate of Koas here. Mystic Drake, whoops. Mystic Drake, no, Pip is never defensive. She always takes a meal, you know, but she's also never thought of biting. Like, she's just the sweetest snake. Never concerned about anything, totally confident, has no idea how small she is, you know. That's a really interesting snake. I'm excited to in the future compare Antaresia with house snakes, because they seem to be relatively similar, but there are some big differences too. Katie Lolly, Amy's sister, just sent me a super chat. Boo Boo misses his Bob. Okay, we're not saying that again. And as for a question, so Boo Boo is her snake, that is Katie's snake that I produced. It's a delightful snake. Amy's flagging me down before I.
Hi, you have 2 missing super chats, by the way.
Oh, I do. Okay, I'm gonna grab them in a second. All right.
Okay.
Okay.
Also, I really like Bob. We're definitely saying that again.
We're not saying that again. We're just not. And as for a question, are there any plant mites / pests that can be found on live plants that can be harmful to snakes? No. No, there aren't. But there are plants that can be harmful to snakes. So you got to make sure that your plants are safe for reptiles. All right. Let's see. Hang on. I saw Megan's, and then here's J-Bones 1987. Okay. Yeah. So, and then we'll get to Megan's. All right. So J-Bones 1987. Is the emerald tree boa a bad idea for a bite scared beginner? Absolutely. Yes. Emerald tree boas are prone to bite. Now, they can be socialized if you know what you're doing with socializing a snake. But if you're a beginner, that's something that you have to learn. And they have the longest teeth of any non-venomous snake in the world. So they are absolutely the last snake that you want to get if you are scared of a bite and a beginner. Don't get an emerald tree boa. I'm glad you asked the question. Megan, thanks for the super chat. Amy, I'm going to pull you off for a second. I totally forgot you were streaming tonight. Great way to start the day before an overnight shift in the veterinary ER. Oh, Megan, I'm glad you're here. That's cool that you work at a veterinary ER. I feel like that would be tragic sometimes too. I bet it is. I mean, it would be for any ER situation, whether it's human or veterinary or whatever. Man, I can't tell where Koa went. I mean, I've got him in my hands, but he's a pretty long snake. Can't tell where the rest of them went. Buddy, I can't have you go on my hat at this point. You got to get a little bit bigger. I'm sorry. You got to stay in my hands for now. I'm so excited for this snake because look how pretty he is already. And they go through an octogenic color change in around, I think, a year old, I think. Correct me if I'm wrong, you guys, those of you who are Brettles experts. And his color change should make him much more red. I'm really excited about that. Okay, we have more super chats. Chad, thanks for this super chat. You guys, you're super chatting. You're going to make this a really long live stream because we still have to continue getting to the other things. But if you're okay with that, I'm okay with it. I'm happy to do this. So Chad says, off subject, what's one or two of your favorite bands and what's your favorite guitars? Okay, I actually have a Patreon supporter asked what my favorite bands are too. So we're going to answer that in a minute, or maybe more than a minute, but I will answer that. Stone Temple, I love Stone Temple Pilots. And Periphery, which I don't know. Favorite guitars are Holcomb PRS and Martin D28. Yeah, I like a Martin guitar. You know, I play guitar, but I'm not a big guitar nerd. So, I mean, anytime I pick up a Martin, like a real Martin, not the I mean, any Martin is good. I was thinking of like the travel Martins that everybody has. Those are even good. But anytime I pick up a Martin, it's great. A Taylor is really great. I can't tell which one sounds better to me. I mean, I can tell that there's a slightly different sound, but I don't know which one I prefer. Kind of like Ardbeg versus Lagavulin. But I'm not, I don't have a specific model. You know what I mean? Because I don't play enough guitar to know that. Thanks for that super chat. Katie Lawley, thanks for your super chat. Hopefully this will make up for the Bob fiasco. Everyone in the chat loves Bob. You're the worst, Katie. But I love you, and thanks for that super chat. I guess we're letting Koa on my hat, because where's it going to go from here, right? Speaking of going, let's see what. All right, so Stella has, you can't see, but she's curled up in her basket there. She's kind of partially leaning out the cage. She's got her head poked out of the cage, and she's sitting in her basket. We might grab her later. We'll see. Okay. You guys, thank you so much for those super chats. Those are helpful to the channel. Look at that boy. I feel like he's so skinny, he could get lost in my hat. I mean, probably not, but it seems that way. Okay. Where are we at? Okay, Stephen Armstrong says, what's the best starting point if I'm thinking about setting up a bioactive for my ball pythons? There are a number of people that have videos on bioactive, including myself. Green Room Pythons has several videos on bioactive. But yeah, it's just that. It's just watching a few videos and figuring out which way you want to go with a bioactive. There's a few different ways to do it. I don't do the bottom layer, I can't remember what it's called, but some people do like little clay balls or rocks or something on the bottom. I don't do that. I just get soil that works. So I would say that just look at some videos. Look at Tanner Serpa Designs. He does really high-end stuff, but it'll give you some ideas. Serpa Designs. If you guys have not seen Tanner's videos, they are nuts. He's extremely talented. Look at Koa reaching for my beard. Let's see. Kathy Conway says, do you use just cocoa blocks for substrate for your ball pythons, or do you mix something in? I've been having trouble keeping humidity up in my glass enclosures with just cocoa bark. Yeah, I just use cocoa husk. And but you can always mix something in, you know, if it'll help with humidity. Sometimes you just have to experiment. If you're, you know, if you've covered your screen top, if it's a glass enclosure, those are tougher to get your parameters correct on, but it can be done. And if you've already covered your glass enclosure and you don't have a lamp that is, you know, if you're using a heat light, that oftentimes dries things out quicker than a CHE or a deep heat projector or something like that. But aside from that kind of stuff, you could experiment with different substrates and mixing water into that, seeing if seeing if a mix of things will hold water better. But I don't. Lindsay Myers says, do you feed your ball pythons different prey items? I was thinking of ordering quail, but they eat really well right now, and I don't want to disrupt that. No, I absolutely don't feed my ball pythons different prey items. I change it up for all my other snakes. But the reason I don't do it with ball pythons is that they are picky eaters, and chances are they're not going to eat a different prey item anyway, other than whatever they're eating, whether it's rats or mice. They oftentimes won't eat anything else. And if they do eat that other thing, they could decide, oh, this is all I'm eating now. So you feed them a quail and they do happen to take it. They might just go, oh, yeah, I'm on quails now. That's it. And then they refuse everything else. So once they're eating good for you on a certain prey item, that's the best thing to do for ball pythons. Almost every other snake in the world, it's fine to mix it up, and it's healthy to give them a varied diet. But with ball pythons, you want them to just eat. So I would stick with your rats if you can. If they're on mice, they're on mice, but it's better to have them on rats because they're going to grow. And it's not that mice are not good for them or that rats are much better, for them. That's a myth. But the fact is that mice only get a certain size, and your snakes will grow past that size. So you're going to have to feed a whole bunch of mice to make up for, like 2 or 3 mice, jumbo mice, equals like a medium-sized rat. And it's much more cost effective to just feed them the rat, if you can. Hang on, I'm getting so many texts right now. Is it from you, Amy? It's not. Okay. Okay. I don't know what it is. Okay. All right. I don't know what that is. Oh, it's probably my Facebook Messenger. That's what it is. Let's see. Where was I at? I found it, you guys. Ooh. Super chat. Super sticker for Moniz. Thanks, Moniz, for the super sticker. Ask your question if you have it. Ask it below, and Amy will probably see it before I do. And she'll flag me down. Okay. Corey Beaudoin says, my snakes seem to not want to eat black rats. Different scent, I'm thinking. No, it's probably the color. It's probably actually the color. I have never had a snake do this, but I hear it a lot, and Amy's had a snake do it. There's a lot of people that have had this experience where a snake will only eat white rats or they'll only eat black rats. Now, I did make a note in Dolly's. So my one of my ball pythons, Dolly, is not a good eater. She took a rat yesterday, and she refused a white rat, and she eventually, after nagging her with it, took a gray rat. So I made a note in my Husbandry Pro. It probably didn't have to do with the color. It probably just had to do with that I offered it enough that she decided she was hungry and would eat it. But I made a note, because maybe. But yeah, other people have had that experience. Pretty common that I mean, I don't know that it's common, but it's something that I've heard enough where I believe it, that some snakes will just go, yeah, I prefer this color, dark or light. Michael Nichols says, hey guys, I need some tips to get my 2-year-old male ball python Birdie to eat medium rats. He seems obsessed with extra large mice, and I'm just not, and not just any color. It seems like only white. What the heck, please help. Okay, so that's another color thing, but it's not so much that, Michael, as it is that you just have a snake that eats mice instead of rats. So it's not about the size at all. Maybe it's the color, or maybe it's a coincidence. I always, whenever somebody tells me that their animal only eats black or only eats white, the first thing I think is that it's probably a coincidence, but maybe they do, especially with a mouser. You know, most mice come, at least the ones I get, come white. I don't ever get non-white mice, but I know they are. That's a thing, you know. So, but you have a mouser right now, so you're just trying to get them to switch to rats. It's again, it's not about the size. It's just if they decide to take a rat, they'll probably take a medium, or a small or whatever. You know, you could offer a small rat to see if that'll help. You know. All right, I'm going to put Koa back, and then we'll get to somebody else in just a minute. Hang on one second. Okay. Let's just see what Stella's situation is right now. Hi. You want to come out for a minute? This is just me. Come here, you little lasso. Just like a lasso. I know you were sitting there waiting for food, and then I bothered you. So here, say hi to Stella. There we go. Hi. What are you doing there, lady? It's one of the only days that she spent the entire day in her hide. It is not common for her, unless she's digesting food or something, which she's not. In fact, earlier today, I thought, I wonder if she's starting to go into shed because I haven't seen her at all today. And then she came out. Okay. So we'll just see what Stella does. And shenanigans she gets into while she's out. Robin Voss says, I am really struggling with assessing body condition, overweight versus underweight. I know how to identify extremes, but not the ideal. Can you show us with your snakes what things to look for? Yeah, I mean, there is a drawing that you can find online that shows the body shape situation. I'll show you on a couple snakes, but it is hard to tell when I hold a snake up to the camera. It's tough. Like, it's got to be a perfect angle. But basically, to describe it, you know, if you've got a snake that where you've got the spine on top and then it's kind of goes down like this, that's kind of normal, right? Fat would be if they're super round, they're kind of like this, where the spine, you know, where my fingers are, the spine's down there, and then they've got fat coming up over on each side over the spine. That's a fat snake, and that's usually with adults. But if we're talking about a young snake, we're talking about ball pythons, right? Every species has a different body condition. But with ball pythons, so here's a young one. Here's a little Han right here. And he's a really good body condition for a growing snake. His, you know, I can see his spine at the top, and then it gradually drops down on this, you know, gradually drops down. It's got a nice thick belly, partially because he ate yesterday. But hey, Stella, geez. Again, it's tough to show a body condition, but there you go. That's a good, where you just see the spine at the top, right? Okay. So, you know, with young snakes, it's tough because a lot of times their body condition looks okay, but you know, you're feeding them a very small prey item, or you're not feeding them very often or something like that. It's usually you're feeding them often enough, but it's a very small prey item because people see these skinny necks of snakes and they go, oh, there's no way that my snake could fit, you know, whatever the recommended prey item is down their neck. But remember, they're not mammals, they're snakes, and they absolutely can fit stuff. So, but with these young snakes, unless they're just not being fed at all, they'll still look okay. They just won't grow very much, you know. But an emaciated snake, you'll be able to see ribs. They'll look real skinny. Their skin won't be tight. They'll have kind of looser skin, you know, stuff like that. All right, I'm gonna put Stella back. I'll let her curl back up. I wanted to bring her up to show you guys, but she's a troublemaker sometimes. All right, so we'll see what she does. Put her back in there. I'll leave it open and we'll let her do what she wants to do. Okay. So where are we at here? So Robin, I don't know how much help that was, but because it is tough to show, but describing it is a little easier. Actually, let me show you on a bigger snake, because maybe you'll be able to see with Tiger Lily. Tiger Lily kind of has a good ideal body condition. Just trying to get the camera and the snake to be in the perfect position so that you can actually see it. But the point is that you can see the spine at the top. There's not fat going over the top. Amy, I see you flagging me down. Hang on one second. Crisis Corpse, thanks for that super chat. Let me know if you have a question. Amy, hi.
How's it going? Hey, I just had it. Where was it? Lindsay Myers commented on Robin's question on Patreon. And Lindsay wants to know if there is something different we should be looking at between the body condition of juveniles and the body condition of adults.
Oh, good question. Yeah, I mean, it's pretty much what I described. Thanks, Amy. I appreciate that. Pretty much what I said. You know, the juveniles won't always, unless you're really not feeding them, they're not going to get emaciated. They just won't grow very fast. You know, you'll see a snake that's a year old and 300 grams. But they can catch up, you know, if you start feeding them appropriately. That was an exaggeration, although I have seen that. I have seen year-olds that are 300 grams because the person just never ups their prey item, you know. So they're getting like a pinky once a week, which they should have started out on something bigger than a pinky anyway, you know. Okay. So Lindsay says, do you feed your ball python? Oh, we got that already. We got that. So no, keep your ball pythons on what they're eating. That one I got. Oh, I'm far down this. Okay. Joe Last says, how deep do snake bites go? I know a bite typically doesn't do much damage because how slim their teeth are, but can they still puncture deep into the skin? It depends on the species of snake. If it's this species, a ball python, it doesn't go deep at all, really. Now, if you're talking about an adult ball python, like a large adult, that's a bigger head, right? So bigger teeth, but still, it's not going to go very deep. Reticulated pythons have slightly longer teeth. And then there are other snakes like the one we mentioned earlier, the emerald tree boa, that have super long teeth and can definitely get into your muscle. And so that's going to hurt. Okay, I just want to check on Stella. Again, she's back relaxing where she wanted to be. It was so rude of me to pull her off that spot. Okay. You know, of the hat bands so far, no offense to my other snakes, but I feel like Tiger Lily makes the prettiest, most contrasty hat band. Do you guys agree? Tell me who your favorite hat band has been so far. Okay. So yeah, ball pythons, pretty small teeth all the way around. Reticulated pythons have longer teeth, especially in the what everybody calls fangs. They kind of do have those longer teeth on either side of their mouth, but they're not fangs because fangs are more for that. That's what we refer to venomous snakes having fangs that can inject venom. But they do have longer teeth on either side of their mouth. Okay. Okay, Phil Luswick says, I just got done watching a couple of videos from a different creator. I'm not going to say who it was. It doesn't matter. Why are people breeding snakes this large? She's talking about very large reticulated pythons. I'll stick with Maxine. Thank you very much. Well, okay, so a couple things on both sides. People breed snakes that large because there are people who enjoy snakes that large. You know, we all have different preferences, and some people do really well at keeping large snakes, but there's not many of them. So I think, this is my personal opinion, that mainland reticulated pythons are overbred. There are not many people that can responsibly keep 15-foot reticulated python. One thing to really think about is look at the thousands of babies that are produced every year from these big producers and from smaller producers of mainland reticulated pythons. And how many people in this country have, and I know some of them go to other countries too occasionally, but most of them stay here in this country. How many thousands of people have adult full-size reticulated pythons? Not many. There are not that many adult full-size reticulated pythons compared to the babies that we see every year. So what is happening to those poor snakes? That's my thought on that. Birch Creek exotics. There are a number of species that are overbred. Birch Creek exotics. What are the localities of your super dwarfs? Hey, thanks for that super chat. I almost said super dwarf. Thanks for that super chat. These super dwarves, the one that you just saw, Stella, is 100% Kalatoa. And then Echo, who's in shed right now in her hide, is 50% Karompa, 25% Kalatoa, and 12.5% Slayer. And so she has a little bit of larger blood in her, but she is definitely a smaller snake than Stella is. They get about the same meal each feeding. And Stella, and they stayed neck and neck. They were the exact same size for the first year and a half to 2 years of their lives. And then Stella started getting bigger. Pretty interesting. I get questions, especially on Instagram and on my shorts on YouTube, where people that don't otherwise follow me, they just happen to see the thing. They always go, "Oh, that's how big super dwarves are," and I always want to say, no, it's not. First of all, they're not full grown, and they're also very small localities. Super dwarves can get huge. I've seen some very big super dwarves. 10-foot super dwarves that are this thick. I saw 100% Kalatoa that's like this thick and 10 feet. So depends on how you feed them. It also depends on their genetics and whatever, but a lot of it depends on how you feed them. Okay. All right, so Phil has another question. I was also thinking about looking into spotted pythons. Can you get your thoughts on those? Yeah, spotteds are great. That's another Antaresia, very, very closely related to Pip, my pygmy python. They are fantastic little snakes. The spotteds get 3 to 4 feet, I think. Am I right about that? Somebody with a spotted, confirm in the chat whether I'm right about that. I think 3 to 4 feet ish. They're cool. They're definitely smaller than ball pythons. And they're delightful little snakes with a strong feeding response, but otherwise very handleable. Oh, here's Phil. Here, we'll just keep going with Phil's questions because he just did a super chat. Thanks for the super chat, Phil. You didn't see my second part of the question. Was what do you think about spotted pythons? I did, because I just answered it. But thanks, Phil. I appreciate that. If you have another question, Phil, since I answered that right before I saw that super chat, put another question in there. I support you getting a spotted python. They're pretty great. Okay. Lyra Sanchez says, how common is it for a female ball python to reach 4,000 grams like Damara? My girl is 770 grams at 2 years old. I'm wondering how big she might get as a proper adult. So if she's 2 years old, I would say very small for a 2-year-old. So this might be another situation where maybe you haven't upped her food size in a while. I'm saying that because standard, we all say that ball pythons grow at different rates, and they do, but there's a window, and generally my snakes at 2 years at old are somewhere around 700 grams at 12 months, So if they're 2 years old, it's 700 and whatever you said, that's relatively small. But to answer your other question, and by the way, probably not unhealthy, but just you may want to just double check your prey size that you're feeding. But to answer the other question, it's not super Damara is large for a ball python, and I always tell people she's kind of the upper end of the size that ball pythons get to. But if you have a 2-year-old at 770 grams or whatever it was, I would say that snake is not in much danger of getting to 4,000 grams. So that's what I'll say about that. Okay, Skylar, thanks for the super chat. How do you feel about lighting after hours? I have my snakes in my man cave, and if it's necessary to cover their enclosure from lamps, etc. Oh, no, I mean, as long as you don't have light, I'm assuming that your snakes, I'm putting here, hold on one second. I'm putting this girl back. Say goodbye to Tiger Lily while I answer this question. She just seems like she wants to go back in her cage, so she's heading back. So I'm assuming you have hides for your snakes, and if they can go into hides, it's fine to have light out in the room. I'm oftentimes up late and I've got a light on in here. It's totally fine. The snakes are in hides, so their lights in their cages go out, but light in the room is just fine. Thanks for that super chat. All right. Wait, are we on the last page? We're blowing through these, you guys. Now we're making some progress. Okay. Lacey says, this is a long one. Let me see if I can. Are wobbles typical thing to see in baby snakes as they grow, or should I worry about my ball python having the spider wobble condition? Okay, let me just read the rest of this. I just got my first ball python and everything seems to be going great. The only thing I've noticed is that he does wobble and is quite clumsy. He's under a year old and still rather small. Under 100 grams. Or maybe it's just at 100 grams. So I don't know how under a year old you mean. Is he 10 months old or is he 2 months old? Because 100 grams at 10 months old is very small. He has a vet appointment scheduled next week for a general checkup, but I thought I'd ask. Okay, so my question is, does your snake have the spider gene? Did you buy a snake with spider? If so, then there might be a little wobble, and it's not that big of a deal generally. Some spider ball pythons have an extreme wobble, but it's rare. And no, it's not normal just for babies to have a wobble. Although what you might be seeing is just a snake that's like periscoping and maybe their head shook a little bit. A lot of times people hear about wobble online and they look at their snake, and if they see the smallest tremor, they go, oh, that's a wobble, But yeah, so I don't know if your snake has the spider gene. If it does, then the spider gene does come with a wobble of some sort, some degree. If it's not spider, though, it probably doesn't have a wobble. It could be it could be one of the other spider complexes. A snake that's in the spider complex that's either a super form, maybe like a super spot nose or something like that also comes with wobble. But if it doesn't have that, then it may not be a wobble. So, and again, the snake might be very small at under 100 grams. There's a good chance that the breeder that you bought it from was maintenance feeding it. Sometimes breeders do this, and I kind of wish they wouldn't, but it doesn't mean that your animal is unhealthy. It just has not grown very much. I see Amy flagging me down. It just hasn't grown very much, and what was I going to say? I forgot. It can catch up. Like I said before, you start feeding it appropriately sized meals, it'll catch up. It's fine. Hi, Amy. What's up?
So Courtney Moon recently asked a question in the chat room. She says, I just saw your video of the aggressive baby ball python that was striking at all of the heat sources. How is that one doing? I just took in a young python doing the exact same thing, but I love him regardless. So I just wanted to update you, Courtney. That ball python went to one of our Horde of Keepers members, and he updates us in the Discord server. We have a channel in the Discord server called GRP Hatched, which is where everybody who has a green room snake can go in there and update everybody on how those snakes are doing. That snake's name is Spitfire, and she is very handleable and loves to hang out with her owner, but she is still very, very food aggressive. She has a very, very strong feeding response. Oh, hello.
Yeah, so, Matt gives us regular updates in that. That's my favorite channel on Discord, by the way. Discord's great. It has a ton of cool channels, but I love getting updates on snakes that I've produced because I remember them all and I love hearing from people.
Yep. So I just wanted to say two quick things in relation to that. A, if you're not a member of the Discord server, it is free. That channel is available to everybody. Even though if you are not a person who owns a green room python snake, you can post in there, but you can't post pictures in there. And if you are a person who owns a green room python snake and you do not have access to post videos or pictures in the GRP Hatch channel, please reach out to me and let me know.
I have a question, Amy.
I'll give you that.
I have a question about this. What if somebody doesn't own a green room python snake, but they run into someone who does own a green room python snake and they take a picture of that person and they post in the GRP Hatch channel, this is a person who owns a green room python snake. Is that picture acceptable? I'm just trying to figure out the rules.
I mean, it technically would be. You could send it to me and I'll post it in there. But I love you guys. I'm not going to give you access to that, to posting videos and pictures in that channel if you don't own a green room python snake.
I love it. Thanks, Amy. I appreciate your input.
Also, you have a super chat.
I got it. Okay, thank you. Okay, let's see. I have a super chat. Oh, there it is. Fizzy, thanks for this super chat. Is a larger mama going to make larger babies? I'd assume so because of dog breeds, but snakes are totally different. So I wonder how genetics work with size outside of things like localities of retics. Yeah, that's a great question. And actually, it's one that my first answer is no. They don't make larger babies. They just make more babies. And really that's hang on. I'll show you Damara here, who we were just talking about. Oh, mama, look at you. So Damara, who's my biggest ball python, is still pretty skinny. She's only had 2 meals since she laid, but she laid 16 eggs. 13 good eggs. The other 3 were slugs. But I expect those babies to be average size. You know, I've had small females. I'm going to put her back. Well, no, I'll put her on my neck. She's okay. She had a small meal the other day. yesterday. I've had small first-time mamas produce huge babies, and then I've gotten small babies from large mamas. So I haven't really figured that out. Like, if genetically, it'll be interesting. This will be my first clutch from Damara, and it's going to be interesting to see. You know what? By the way, we're talking about body condition, right? So Damara is a big snake, but she just laid 16 eggs. So you can see this triangular shape where really her spine is right here, and then this triangle. So she should be thicker, right? If she was just a pet, and I saw this, I might say, you know, you might want to feed your snake a little bit more. But she's just starting to work on getting up to size. Really, really happy to see her again, because she's, I mean, I've said this in other videos. You guys have probably heard me say this, that when she is nesting, I miss this snake because I like having her with me. She's cool. So we're doing that a little bit, a couple times a week. We're hanging out. She's getting some food, lightly getting food. You know, I feed them every 2 weeks when they're getting back up to weight. We go every 2 weeks starting out. And generally we go with small rats to start out with, but she's so big that we just do mediums. Not a big deal. So anyway, I am still trying to figure out what the size of the babies has to do with the genetics of the snakes. I just don't know. If somebody else, oh, hi, Mom. My mom's in. I just saw Mom saying, checking out for dinner. I'll be back. Okay, so I never saw Mom when you were in before, but apparently you've been here. That's great. Hi, Mom. Anyway, my point is, if there's anybody else who has a theory on the size of the babies crawling out of eggs according to the size of your snakes or the genetics of your snakes, post it. Put it in the comments if you're watching this after the fact, or in the chat if you're watching it right now. No, I wouldn't say that Damara is part Volta. I don't think that. Volta, for those of you who don't know, is a locality of ball python that that is in the, is it the Volta mountain range? Is that what it is? Am I right about that? I think so. But they grow much bigger. They're a giant locality of ball python. And I think Damara's head would be bigger. They generally have really big heads compared to their even large bodies. And I think Damara's head would be bigger if she was Volta. So, and she would be bigger if she was Volta too, you know. Part Volta, that would be like maybe she had a parent that was Volta, so she's like half that locality. I still think she would have a bigger head. Crisis Corpse, thanks for your super chat. Damara, if you're trying to climb on my hat, babe, that is not something you're going to fit on. I say that as though she, maybe she understands English. I don't know. Ruger is 5 feet and 2,200 grams. Is it a good size? Is that a good size for a female? She's a pet, not a breeder. Yeah, that's great. I assume that she's several years old at least. She's, you know, an adult ball python. That's about right. That is about right. Nifter's Critters, thanks for the super chat. You guys, I really appreciate these super chats that you're doing. I was having a frustrating evening and the live stream cheered me up. Oh, that's great. Thank you. Hi to Pip from Juniper, my spotted python. Oh, cool. You've got a spotted python. I like that name, Juniper. Juniper. That's cool. I'm glad the live stream cheered you up, Nifter's Critters. Okay. We're getting down to the end of this. We're almost 2 hours into this and still working on these, but we're getting there. Okay, Desiree says, I have an 18-month-old male ball python, Houdini, who's about 750 grams now. Since November, he's been acting a little crazy. Out at night, trying to get out of his enclosure, goes straight for a door. He was upgraded to a 100-gallon bioactive setup in September. I know it's ball python breeding season and have attributed most of his behavior to that. but when do I get my pet rock back? Because he is absolutely destroying his enclosure. Okay. So, all right. So a few things. It's only breeding season if you're breeding your snake. I hear this a lot from pet keepers that, they go, oh, I know it's breeding season right now for ball pythons, but there's not really a breeding season. Unless you live in Africa and are keeping them at, you've got a wild caught that's used to breeding, and you're keeping them in ambient temperatures and in the weather of Africa. They really don't have a breeding season. For ball python, there are some species of python where you do breed them in a certain season. They wait for it. They're not going to breed any other time of year. But ball pythons, and even mine, breed at different times. I've paired up certain females with males at different times during the year. So their season is all different. And it has to do with when they're breeding. So if you're not breeding your snake, they don't have a breeding season. They're not going to act differently because of breeding season. So there's that. And then, the other thing is they're not necessarily pet rocks. We hear that all the time. I have some that you could describe as that because they like to sit in their hide all the time. But I have others that are out a lot and not pet rocks. I have some that have spent most of their life sitting in hides. And then all of a sudden they decide that they're going to move around more. During the day, they're pretty much going to sleep. But I'll see them come out, in the morning when I'm checking on all the snakes, they'll be right out. They're like, hey, let me come out. And earlier in the evening, they'll come out and start moving around a bit. So they change based on what you put them in. You change cages like you did. That might change their routine. And then just as they grow and change, grow and mature, they'll have phases where they're more active or less active, So yeah, this thing about them being pet rocks. The other thing is it depends on how much you do with them. If you just keep your snake in a tub and don't do anything with them, they're going to be pet rocks. So, but it sounds like your snake's doing good, cruising around, doing his thing. Brady Bentley, you guys, my good friend Brady Bentley, who happens to be Amy's husband, has just handed me $10. I appreciate it. Brady says, I appreciate these live streams. I'm not 100% comfortable with snakes, but this community makes me 100% comfortable. Whatever your involvement, this is a great community. Brady, you're the best. That's so nice. That's true. Brady is very brave around snakes because he's not always that comfortable, but he does very well. I would say, Brady, that you're more comfortable around snakes than you are of being on camera. If we're talking about things that you're uncomfortable with, but I appreciate that, Brady. And I appreciate you so much because, I don't ever expect my friends or family to even watch my videos, much less join the live stream, stuff like that, because they can just call me and chat with me or whatever, So it's always really nice when my mom watches every video. She's on the live streams whenever she can be. I love that Brady watches all the videos. Brady will watch Brady will text me while he's watching a video and tell me his thoughts on it. It's really nice. I appreciate that a lot because I don't get that from my other friends, and I don't expect it. So it's really nice, Brady. I'm glad that you like this community, and of course, Amy's in because she's the snake person of the two of them, right? Amy, you're. So you're more expected to be into it because you're into snakes, right?
I text you all the time about the videos you put out and give you my thoughts on them.
I know, but you don't count because you're already into snakes and you're already sort of part of the channel, right? Brady's your husband, so that's, he's connected that way, but he's not into snakes. He could totally just check out of that part of your life and that part of my life because he's not into snakes, and he could still hang out with me when he's in town or when I'm in town in Utah, but check out of the snake thing. But he's like into it. He watches all the videos. He's involved in the live stream. He's separately a part of the Horde of Keepers, which is crazy. I appreciate that guy. You married a good one.
I really did.
Yeah. All right. Bye, Amy.
Bye.
Okay. How great is this snake, you guys? I just love Damara so much. Where am I at? Oh, we're on these. We're finishing up these Patreon questions. Okay. Forrest says, can a human's colds transfer to snakes and give them RI, or are we biologically too different? I try not to handle them when I have a cold, but if it's necessary, I'd love to have my snake close when I feel miserable. We are too different, Forrest. You're not going to give your snake a cold, and they're not going to give you an RI. Diseases from snakes don't transfer to humans, and vice versa. Now, there are things that snakes can carry, like salmonella, that can transfer to that can make a human sick, but that's not transferring a disease from a snake to a human, or vice versa. Salmonella, they just carry. You could get it. It's super rare. I always tell people, ask me this all the time online, and I always tell them that I have been around and kept reptiles my entire life, and I have lots of friends who have too. I have never contracted salmonella, and I don't know anybody. I don't personally know anyone who's ever contracted salmonella from a reptile. I do know people who have gotten it from eggs, that they get at the grocery store, but not from somebody like this. Look at Damara. How great is she? I mean, I kind of was against her getting up on my hat, but I sort of love it now, Okay. Here we go. Leah St. Clair says, do you know if it's safe for a pregnant lady to clean a snake enclosure? Google has conflicting answers. Snakes are not like cats. Like if you're pregnant, I think you're supposed to stay away from cats. Is that still current science? I assume it is, but I haven't heard anything on it lately. With snakes, you don't want to get salmonella, which again is extremely rare. Also, just bacteria that you're around, just in general, when you're pregnant, you don't want to be around bacteria. But there's not a reptile thing like there is with cats, where like pregnant people are supposed to stay away from reptiles. There's not that. Okay. All right. I'm just going to let Damara do her thing, and we'll cover my face for a minute. See if I can read. So here, instead of reading this, let me just say that Damara knows how to get back to her enclosure. I don't have many ball pythons that do know how. Even the one, oh, she's trying to go on my computer. I don't want that. All right, come here, lady. I thought you were going back to your cage. So I don't have many ball pythons that know how to get back to their enclosure, even the ones that free roam a lot, because they just don't do it. They don't do it enough. But Damara knows where her cage is. She usually goes back, or sort of gets into the area of where her tub is when she's ready to go back, and she goes in on her own. Usually it's from me. It's like from my lap, especially lately, because she hasn't been free roaming lately. She's just been hanging out with me. She'll sit on my lap for a while and then head back into her cage. But Echo, Stella, and Maya all know how to get back into their cage, and they do it often. When they're ready to go back, they just go back. It's pretty cool. I get really proud when a snake goes back to their home on their own. I'm like, how smart is that animal? Pretty cool. Also, the fact that they know once they find their favorite spot in the room, they can just beeline there from wherever they're at. They know exactly, once they've mapped out the room, they know how to get wherever they want to go. It's pretty cool. Okay, Mark, thanks for the super chat. I have a young male firefly yellow belly ball python who just took his first frozen thawed mouse. Awesome. Because of your hairdryer method. Thank you, Bob. Oh, that's great, Mark. That's fantastic. I love hearing that. Congrats on that new snake, and congrats on that successful feeding. That's really cool. Yellow belly firefly. That's pretty snake, I bet. Very cool. Thanks for that super chat. Damara did, in fact, start heading back into her tub. So we'll see if she stays there. I've got her back in still, I guess. Erica, you're right. You guys have been noticing that too. All of your co-hosts are trying to take your shirt off. Yeah, I have a shirt that this shirt unbuttons really easily. So as soon as the tail goes in, the shirt unbuttons. Sorry, you guys. I'm unintentionally being sexy tonight. It's not my intention. It's just what's happening with my snakes. All right. Okay. She just stopped. She went into her thing and then she stopped moving. That's cool. Let's see what she does. All right. So Tara Patton says, what are some of the normal things snakes do that can send us into a panic? For example, I thought my retic was having a seizure. She was convulsing with a really high-pitched noise coming out of her nose. Turns out she had substrate in her nose. She got it out, but I freaking panicked. Do you have other examples of things they do that can be normal? Yeah, I do, because I hear about it. As soon as something's happening, I get messages. I get a lot of messages from people, emails and Instagram and Facebook and stuff like that. So sneezing is one thing. You know, it's funny. I was at my friend Paul's house. Paul has a bunch of scrub pythons. He has a bunch because he had 2 and now they had babies. So he's got all the babies and he has the 2 scrubbies. So I was at his house in Seattle recently. You'll see that video coming out soon. But while I was there, it's not in the video, but while I was there, his male crawled up, was free roaming, and his male crawled up on top of all the cages, and he started sort of doing a sneeze thing. And Paul goes, "Oh my God, what's that? I've never seen that before." And I go, "Oh, he's got like stuck shed in his nose or substrate in his nose or something. He's trying to get it out." And he was like, "I'm glad you're here because I've never heard that before, and that would have really freaked me out." But I think he must have gotten it out because he stopped doing it after a little while. But he was, doing that thing where it's like, that kind of thing. So yeah, they do that. Farting, if you see them do it, they will open their mouth and convulse when they're farting. It seems it's very otherworldly and violent. It's violent. So that could freak you out. Another thing is digesting food either sideways or upside down. You lift their hide and they're like on their side or on their back digesting food. This is also something they do when they're building follicles. And I think for a new snake keeper, they'll be like, "Oh my God, is my snake dead?" So, there's some little weird things that you got to go through it once. And, it's just a learning curve of realizing that your snake is not dying. We only have a couple left, you guys. What's your favorite? Okay, this is from Azara Graham. What's your favorite zoo that you've been to? It's San Diego for me. It's ruined all other zoos for me. Yeah, San Diego. I haven't been in years, but for sure that's the best zoo I've ever been to. I am a member of the LA Zoo. It's not nearly as cool as the San Diego Zoo, but it is cool, and I have my favorite animals there. Amy and I have been there recently with Brady. Brady and Amy and I have been there. What was your favorite animal there, Amy, when we went? We just went like, what, a month ago, 2 months ago?
Yeah, I think less than a month ago.
What was the
No,
best
it was
thing?
about a month ago.
Yeah.
So are they wombats in the little dark room?
Yeah, they're wombats.
So that was fun.
Uh-huh.
That's the first time I've been there with you where we actually saw them because they're usually hiding.
Right. And also we had the room to ourselves. That whole wombat thing, we were the only ones in there. That was cool.
Mm-hmm. My actual favorite animal that I saw on that trip was that crow that I definitely almost had eating out of my hand until I got foiled by a toddler.
I know. It was a wild crow that you were really making friends with, and then a toddler ran up.
so close. And then this little toddler like ran up and was like, "Ooh, I want to touch the bird." And I'm not going to say it on the internet, but
Yeah, you were not happy
never,
with that toddler.
I was not happy with that toddler. That was
Yeah.
the first time in my whole life I was like, I've never wanted to kick a baby before.
You
But I
spent some
was, for the first time in my life, I was actually making really good progress with a crow. And then this little toddler ran up out of nowhere and was like, "Birdie," and the crow was like, "Ah." I
you
was like,
spent some
"Oh,
time
come on."
developing a relationship with that crow. And so Brady, I'm glad you mentioned it, Brady, because I was going to ask you also to put it in the chat. Gaboon Viper for you. Yeah, that's one of them for me as well. And the day that we were there, that Gaboon Viper had just eaten and it was moving like you never see the Gaboon Viper move. He sits for weeks in the same spot. Fortunately, his spot is in the front of the cage, like right against the glass, which is a great spot. But like I had never seen that snake move before. And I've seen him a bunch of times. He was moving. He yawned. I got him on camera yawning. So cool. Did I post that? Did I do a video about that? I may not have. Did I?
I think you might have, maybe.
I should
I
look
don't
and
remember.
see. I should look
It
because
might
I
have
have.
been. I think I
Maybe I did.
remember seeing footage of it, but I can't remember if it was
It might have
a
been just
produced
on
video or
Patreon.
just a Patreon video.
It was probably just a Patreon video.
Brandiala wants to know, is the LA Zoo okay right now?
Yeah, it's closed right now. They closed. They closed. I've been getting updates because since I'm a member, I get updates every day. I don't think I got one today, but they might have opened today, but they were closed because of the winds, and then they were closed because of the fires, and they're just making sure that their employees and animals are all safe. They're pretty good with their animals there. So anyway, I'm going back. I think I'm going again next week with some other friends.
Nice.
Yeah. Okay. Bye, Amy.
Bye.
So, what's that? We're on our last two questions. All right. Leah says, "What's your favorite band?" Okay, so this was asked before in a super chat. It's tough because I listen to so many different types of music, and I can never say what my favorite artist is, but usually my answer is the Punch Brothers. If you don't know the Punch Brothers, look them up. They are fantastic musicians. They have been a favorite of mine for a really long time. And I just through luck, I got to know the fiddle player. He's my favorite fiddle player because he plays fiddle for Punch Brothers. He actually has now left the band, but I got to know him because when I was at my old place, some of you remember my neighbor Yoli, who has popped into live streams occasionally. Yoli is a piano teacher. And she taught piano to Gabe Witcher's son. So Gabe, who's the fiddle player for the Punch Brothers, would come over and bring his son to piano lessons, and then I'd go out and chat with Gabe. It was pretty cool. Pretty cool. They are a bluegrass band, but they're not playing bluegrass. Like it's bluegrass instrumentation, but it's very different music. Look them up. It's fantastic. But also like. Here, let's go with different genres. I really like Disturbed. Big fan of Disturbed. And let's go with hip hop because I'm obsessed with Pete and Baz right now. I like a lot of hip hop, but if you don't know who Pete and Baz are, even if you don't listen to rap music, look them up. They are London gangster rappers. They do full on hardcore gangster rap, but in London, so that's different than gangster rap in the US. And also, by the way, they're both in their 70s, and it's not a joke. Like does anybody know who I'm talking about? Pete and Baz? It's not a novelty thing. It's not a joke. It's very good music where if you didn't see the video, you wouldn't know that these are 70-year-olds rapping. They are insanely good. And to watch the video of them doing it is jaw-dropping because they're so good, and they're both in their 70s. It's insane. I don't think there's controversy over whether they write their own lyrics or not, and they probably don't because there's a lot of pop culture references and stuff like that. But it doesn't matter. like their flow and the way they can, they are better than most famous rappers right now. So look up Pete and Baz. They're great. All right. I listen to and appreciate all kinds of music. All right, hold on. Is that it? Oh, Leah's other thing says, not a question, but you should totally listen to Epic the Musical. Okay, I will. I don't know what that is. Do you guys know what that is? Epic the Musical? I also really like musicals. I'm a fan of musical theater. I'm obsessed with Wicked right now. I wish I had seen it in the theater. I don't know why. Like right after the holidays, I went, let me just check out Wicked. So on my computer, I just rented it on Amazon Prime, I guess, and watched it 3 times in a row. Just like in the second day, I had probably seen it 3 times. So yeah, big fan of musical theater. You might not have guessed that with someone who looks like this, right? Thus concludes the Patreon questions. We still have a good amount of people watching. Any requests for snakes? Let me just see if Bella is available. Since I showed Koa, I showed the red one. Let's look at the Axanthic carpet python because she's so freaking cute. Let me see what her situation is right now. Oh, look at you. Look at this girl. Come here. Can I get you off the fence? Oh, good girl. Look at that. She was sitting right on top of her fence, which is really easy for them to grab onto and never let go of. But she was right on top of it instead of, shoot, I've got her in the wrong hand again. Dang it. Okay. We lost the focus. Okay, well, she's just perfectly, Can you see this silver eye? Now, I've been told that Axanthic carpet pythons have these snowy silver eyes when they're babies, and then the color changes, which is such a bummer because it's just beautiful. Her eyes are lovely. But she is surprisingly not worried about anything ever. She's kind of, I mean, it's hard to tell what the personality is going to be like in a snake when they're a baby like this. But currently, she has no concern about anything really. She's just like, whatever. I was on my fence. I've got some fencing in their, they're just in a tub. They're in a large tub right now. So they have a ton of space for their size, but they also have a fence where they can sit up on top of that fence and be arboreal. So, she was on her fence and now she's on my hand and she's like, okay, whatever. But she's delightful. There's some stuff about her that I haven't mentioned yet that I'm going to when I finally do a video on them. And that's coming, I don't know when. It's, I think in a few weeks. I've got a bunch of videos planned and I just don't know off the top of my head what my calendar is for them. But I think I'm supposed to be working on this video about these two soon. So I really like them and I'm excited to watch them grow up. That is what I'll say about these carpet pythons. That's right, Tara. Suspense. I'm building suspense. Thanks, Small Sand. Small Sand. Thank you. I'm glad you're enjoying the channel. Yeah, really happy with this little Axanthic coastal carpet python. She's cool. Stephen, what are we talking about? Amy can do it. Amy's got it. She just gave me a thumbs up. I don't even know what that is. Yeah, Candy's Critters. I really wanted to see the calico elephant trunk snake when I was there because I heard about it. I was asked where it was, and I lied to them. I can't remember if it was Brian's video or Adam's video, but like when they asked me about it, I didn't even know that there was one there, and then I saw it in. I guess it was probably Brian's. Whose video was it? Was it Brian's or Adam's? I can't remember now, because I did see it in the video, but I never saw it at the show. It's pretty cool. Elephant trunk snakes. I don't want one. I'm not trying to get a snake that's aquatic, you know, but oh, I'm gonna hang on. Hash, I'm gonna answer this, and then, oh wait, that's a thanks, Amy. We appreciate Amy. Okay, Hash, I'm gonna answer that in a second. Elephant trunk snakes, I don't want, but I am very intrigued by them. They're so weird and cool to see, and didn't even know that there was a morph in elephant trunk snakes. And that calico was cool. I wish I had seen it in person. Hash, this is my recommendation right here. This is what I started with today. Heaven Hill Bottled and Bond. It's a 100 ABV. So it's barrel strength. I think it's barrel strength. Oh, maybe it's not. Maybe it's not barrel strength. It's exactly 50%. You know, but it's one of my favorite bourbons. I mean, you're saying American whiskey, which bourbon technically is American whiskey. Yeah, I like it. I'm partial generally to Scotch and Irish whiskeys, but I also enjoy bourbons and just regular American whiskey too. Oh, what did I have recently that was? Oh, it's hang on. I'm going to get it. I'm going to tell you another one. This is just a brand that's always good. Chad, I see your super chat. Hang on. I'm going to get to it in a second. But I want to show you this. Hang on one second. Okay, Redwood Empire, which you might know the brand Redwood Empire. It's this stuff. They have, I've never had a bad whiskey from them. They make a bunch of different ones. This one happens to be Lost Monarch, and it might be my favorite thing that I've had from Redwood Empire. It's a blend. It's a straight whiskey blend. And man, it's good. That's this company, Redwood Empire. They always have really cool labels. And if you see anything from them, I recommend trying it. It's good stuff. Although I'm not drinking it tonight. If I had an empty glass, I might pour some of that in it, but I'm pretty close to done. Okay, hold on. There was a super chat. Chad, I should know, but I don't. Do you still do comedy tours? If so, any plans to come to Minnesota? That's a good question. I don't tour. I don't do stand-up shows anymore like I used to. I tour exclusively Renaissance festivals, pirate festivals, stuff like that. I developed a show that's specific to Renaissance fairs that's very different than what I was doing in comedy clubs. And I just tour those. And it's mainly because I can make more money at those festivals, for one thing, but also those are Saturday, Sunday, and then I get to be back in Los Angeles. Whereas when I was touring comedy clubs, which I loved doing, like I love performing at comedy clubs, but you have to do Thursday through Sunday, and then you drive to the next club to do another Thursday through Sunday, and I'm never home. And so it just works out better to do these Renaissance festivals. But because the channel is doing well, I don't do nearly as many festivals as I used to, which is nice. I'm still super busy in the summertime. I still am going to do, probably this year, I'll do about 12 weekends of festivals. But it used to be like pre-COVID, pre-Green Room Pythons, I was doing, half the weekends out of the year 25 weekends or so a year, I was doing festivals. I was performing at a festival somewhere. So it's been nice to pare that back a bit because it's a lot, you know. I enjoy doing those festivals. It's super fun and I love the people. But it's a lot of travel, and I kind of would rather, if I'm going to travel, I'd rather go find snakes at this point, you know. But I'm really happy that everything that I do for a living is stuff that I love to do. It's taken a long time to get there, to get to that point, but it's all stuff that I love, which is great. Jason, you know what? Oops, sorry. Jason, I won't be at Retake Fest this year because I will be at a festival juggling fire and doing comedy at I think we figured out that I talked to Garrett about it this weekend. I think Retake Fest, he set the date for I think it's the first weekend of the Washington State Renaissance Festival, which is one of the major ones that I do. That's 5 weekends in a row. And I think that's the first weekend. So I won't be at Retake Fest, which is a bummer. But I will be at the Washington Renaissance Festival. For those of you who go to that, I oftentimes see fans of the channel and Horde of Keepers members dressed up really cool at the Ren Fair in Washington State. Okay, we got that. Is there any others? What other snakes do you guys want to see before we wrap this up? Because we're 2 hours and 31 minutes into this live stream. Give me your snake recommendations. I'm gonna put Bella back. You know, I wasn't even gonna reveal Koa and Bella until I did a dedicated video, but I couldn't help myself. Like, they've been in several videos now, and they're in videos that I'm currently editing. That's going to come out. They're like in every video now. Okay, we're hearing Kata. Brady wants Kata. Crisis Corpse wants Kata. Okay, we got a bunch of that. We'll grab her. Okay, hang on. Let me put Bella back. There you go, sweet lady. Do your fence. Those are cute little shoelaces. Oh, let me close up this cage. Hi. Can I just get you back in? Close up Stella's cage. Everybody likes this large white snake. Oh, that's a big mama. A big mama. This is a snake that does not prefer to come out. However, when she does come out, when I do have her free roam, she does pretty well with it. But she's not super comfortable hanging out with humans. I usually mention that when I bring her out. Of my snakes, she's probably the least comfortable, but she knows that I mean her no harm. Like, she's not going to be defensive, and she's not absolutely freaking out, but she will immediately start backing up like that. She'll go backwards and then try to find somewhere else to go because she's not interested in hanging out with Big Monkey. I got her as an adult, and she probably, I got her from kind of a bigger breeder who, she probably never was handled. Like, if they had to clean her cage, they'd pull her out to clean her cage and then put her back. But like, nobody ever worked with her. So the only time she's been worked with is the last several years that she's been with me. You know, but versus Damara, who I also got as an adult. Damara came to me as a large adult, and I got Damara from a guy who had her it was a family pet I mean, I'm shocked that he sold her, but I think he was getting into breeding and he just wanted breeding snakes, whatever. And Damara didn't fit into his breeding plans, but that, that snake grew up with his toddler basically. And so she's comfortable with whatever you do. Kata, though, I love this snake. She's just a different personality, Ice Mistress, I'm not sure what Kata weighs. I don't ever weigh her. It would be interesting to find out. Sometimes I weigh snakes just because I'm curious, especially my non-ball pythons I weigh because I'm curious, because it's not common for snake keepers to weigh their snakes. It's only common in the ball python world. For those of you that are just ball python people, that's not a normal thing. So I'm always interested because I started with ball pythons. So I'm always interested to see how my other snakes compare, but typically when they're like this, I'm not weighing them, but I would say she probably weighs in more than Damara right now, because Damara is a little skinny because she just laid eggs. But somewhere over 3,000 grams for this girl. 3,300 grams, something like that. Maybe more. Allison, you're talking about Freya, and I love her too. Freya has a lot of fans. Freya has produced some stunning babies. She is the mother of Dolly and Tiger Lily. And she's just a delightful snake. Let me see if I can get to her. Let me just look at what her situation is before I just grab her. Okay, I'll pull her up. I'm going to put her right back, but just so you can see who we're talking about. This is Freya. And just a favorite of the channel and a favorite of mine, and a snake that just makes some awesome babies. Her paired with Ron has been just such a great pairing. Those of you who have offspring from Freya and Ron have some really cool snakes, right? I'm going to put her right back in. She is a delightful lady. But look at her daughter. We already had Tiger Lily out. That's her daughter, but from that same clutch. It's just interesting to see Dolly, because Dolly looks very much like her, where I don't know if I'm going to get her out. she's ripped the box. She's going to rip the box a little more. Get her out. She's due for another whiskey sleeve anyway. But Dolly, quite a bit smaller, because Dolly's not a great eater, but she has a gene or two more than her mom, but she still looks very much like her mom. That super high calico. I mean, there are calicos that are a lot higher, but this is a nice calico. Hey, I'm sorry I ruined your box. I'll give you another one. I'll give you another one tomorrow. Calico is, I mean, I don't know that it's an underrated morph, but because we've had calico for a long time, people don't think about it as much. But it's stunning, a good salt. There's some snakes that come out calico that you can barely tell, but then you got snakes like that and like Tiger Lily that have strong calico, and that's a really cool. It's cool morph. Is my mom back? I'm seeing people say welcome back. Hang on. Hi, Mom. It's good to see you. You listened all through dinner. That's great. That's great. I'm glad you're back, Mom. Mom, I'm guessing you guys drove home either today or yesterday. I can't remember when I last talked to you, but you were packing. So I think you drove home today. If I'm right, I think you drove home from Seattle today. So they were on a 4 to 5 hour car ride, you guys, from Seattle to Post Falls, Idaho. And you're having dinner post long drive. I hope you guys had a good trip. All right, Kata has relaxed. Sort of. She's kind of squeezing my neck, but I'm not in much danger, you guys. Okay. Who else? Who else do you guys want to see? I probably didn't, when you were last voting, I saw a whole bunch of votes for Kata, so I pulled her out, and then I didn't see any other votes. So if you voted for somebody else, go ahead and put it back in. And maybe I'll pull the snake out while I still have Kata. Han, we had Han out earlier. Han's a cute little guy. I didn't really show him. Well, I guess I did because we were talking about body condition. Oh, buddy. Hi, pal. You're still out. Oh, I know. I know you protest sometimes. I like this guy. He's just cool. I mean, this is just he's got some hets, but he's just a single gene morph. How pretty is just leopard on its own? I didn't know this is how not educated on leopard I was. I just didn't know what a regular leopard looked like without other genes. I've only seen snakes with a bunch of genes and leopard mixed in. Had no idea that the belly of a leopard looked like this. But they're just, dark, caramel, jumbled pattern. But the color is just cool. How that, I'm trying to get it to focus. But you can see even unfocused, you can see how that white kind of turns into yellow and then goes into brown. They're just super pretty, Oh, Lucy, I see your request for Bear. Bear just shed this morning. He's looking real pretty. Let's see what Bear's up to. Hang on. Crisis Corpse, I don't know that we can see the inspector because he did just eat last night. And he took a bigger meal. And also he's hard to get to, man. he's in that cage, as I'm sure you know. It's not like grabbing Bear, Bear's an easy one to get to. There's this handsome guy that just shed and has new clothes. Look at this boy. I love this guy. He started out as a baby being really social and like crawling out onto my hand or whatever. And he did that for a while, for like, let's say the first 6 or 8 months of his life. And then he got real reclusive to where he was just hiding all the time. He didn't want to be messed with or anything. And now he's, how old is Bear? 2.5, 3 years old, something like that. I'd say in the last 12 months, he's been back to being cool with hanging out. It's kind of seasonal for him, but there will be a portion of the year where he's out in the morning, ready to come out, hang out with me. He'll free roam a little bit, which my males don't free roam as much as my females. But it's nice to see him coming out of that shell. He's a cool guy. He's just a pied het clown, and I like him a lot. Let's take a look at Kodiak is breeding. Kodiak is his son, and Kodiak is breeding for the first time this year. So let's just compare these two. Hi, pal. Oh, look at this boy. Oh my goodness. Kodiak is a visual clown pied. There's a pied het clown. So there's the difference in these two. You get sort of more of a golden color. I mean, look, they're almost the same size. Kodiak is still smaller, but they're getting close. You get more of a golden color with Kodiak, and then you've got the head stamp, that clown head stamp with Kodiak. If we can focus on it. There we go. And then Bear has a regular ball python head, which is standard for pieds. But look at this father-son situation. These guys don't need to hang out together. They do not recognize each other as father-son, but they would recognize each other as rival males. So we don't have them out together. Okay. Yeah, I'm a big fan of pied, like just a pied. So I had, some of you know that I had Caleb, is it Caleb Simpson? I forget his last name, but the guy that does the apartment tours on social media where he'll go, hey, how much do you pay for your apartment in New York or in LA, whatever? Can we have a tour? Right? That's, oh, that his video, I heard that video is coming out soon on his thing. So you're going to see my entire place on his social media platform if you're one of the 14 million people that follow him. But anyway, the point is, when we were here, we did an apartment tour, but we also did a snake tour. And when I pulled Bear out, he was, you know, because he doesn't know snakes at all. So he's never seen a pied, probably any animal pied. And he was like, what is even that? Like he was, that was the biggest deal of all my snakes, that pied ball python. He was super excited about. And when he wanted to get a snake because of Bear. That was pretty cool. It's always interesting to see what non-snake people, you know, which snakes really make them go, oh my gosh, wow. A lot of times it's Cata, you know, an all white snake is kind of a big deal. But pied, can't go wrong with pied. All right. Who else? What else did you guys say? Hang on, let me scroll up a bit. Oh, Amy's flagging me. Sorry. Hi, Amy.
You also have many requests for Banjo and Anya.
Oh, good call. Good call. Banjo. Oh, Banjo's still out. Awesome. I can get Banjo. Let me put Cata back. It looks like you have Indy with you.
I do. I also have
you have Indy and Katie with you. I recognize that hand. Hi, Katie. Hi, Indy. Indy is one of my favorite dogs. I said this earlier in the live stream. I have a number of favorite dogs in the world. Indy is one of them because I feel like, you can correct me if I'm wrong, Amy, but I feel like I'm one of Indy's favorite humans.
I would say top five Indy's favorite humans would be me first, Brady, Katie and Bob are probably on equal ground for third, and then my mom would be fifth. Mm-hmm.
Okay, cool.
Dad too. He does. Yeah. My dad will always absentmindedly pet Indy, so if he can't get pets from anybody else, he just goes and lays in my dad's lap at work.
I love a dog that will, like, every time I come over, first of all, he remembers me. I mean, dogs have pretty good memories, but he remembers me every time, and he follows me everywhere. And as soon as I sit down, he's in my lap. He's just the sweetest.
I know. I usually have to pick him up and drag him to my bedroom when it's time to go to bed because he always wants to sleep with you whenever he comes near me.
I know, he goes into the guest bedroom. He wants to sleep in my bed. I love it. All right. My mom says hi to all of you. Okay. So
you heard me say hi to her this time, right?
What's that?
You heard me say hi to her this time, right?
Yeah, I did.
Okay, because I definitely said hi to her on screen with my voice and my hands when she first showed up. And then like an hour and a half later, you were like, oh, my mom's here. I didn't even know. And I was like, hi to her while I was on screen.
Oh, you've been cutting out a little bit sometimes, so maybe you cut out during that time.
Oh,
hang on. I'm going to try. Wait, I've put you on. Hang on a second. Wait. Shoot. No, I don't know how to. Okay, there we go. I'm putting you on big screen because I'm just going to get Banjo out. It's going to take me a minute. So you guys do your thing. Who's that white dog? Let's talk about that white dog.
This is my dog. Look this way. Look at him. Ray Ray is a husky, and she's got heterochromia, so she's got like a blue eye and a brown eye. She's so cute. Indy doesn't want you. She's not. She's as 10 times Brady. Yes, she is.
Okay, I got Banjo. I thought that was going to take me longer than it took. It did not take long at all. So Banjo. Okay, bye, you guys. Thanks for.
Bye.
Okay, hang on. So Banjo's funny because he just shed also, so he's looking super handsome. Banjo has no problem with anything until he's in shed. And when he's in shed, I need to get video of this because he gets so defensive. He leaps his entire body to strike when he's in shed. And he shed yesterday. The shed was gone. He was done with his shed, but he was still in that mode. So I went to get him out, and he's like, rah, rah, like just trying to strike. He's never bit me before. I assume they're bluff strikes, but he's never made contact. So I can't tell if he's just going to bump me or if he's going to actually bite when he does it. But man, when he's in shed, he is a different snake. It's pretty funny because he's really good at it. Like he can, I'd say more than half of his body jumps into the air when he strikes. And it's just a movement. He can't see, like he doesn't know. I mean, yesterday he could see because he'd already shed, but black-headed pythons are more visual than other snakes, I think. I mean, other pythons. They're really keyed in on movement. And especially when they're in shed, they're keyed in. Oh, Amy, I didn't remove you. Hang on. There you go. Okay. That's why I was hearing you. Anyway, Banjo is growing. He's not nearly as big as Maya yet, but he's getting there. And maybe next year we can pair them up. We can think about pairing them up, possibly. But yeah, he's doing good. He's a fast grower. I have a feeling he actually might end up larger than Maya. So we'll see. You guys, my mom is. Look at what my mom's saying, you guys. Have you hit the like button? Thanks, Mom. I appreciate that. And I agree with this. Don't hit the like button if you're not enjoying it. But if you are, it's nice to hit the like button. Let's see what happens when Banjo goes around my hat. These snakes are very different than any other python, black-headed pythons. And I would say womas would fall into the same category because they are the same category of snake, but they act different. They're not, she's not going to just coil around my hat and sit there, or he, because I have Banjo, not Maya. Banjo's never been on a hat before, but he's not going to just coil and sit. He's going to probably keep moving. I'm just guessing at this because I've never been in this situation where I have Banjo on my hat. So we'll see what he does. But they are really cool. If you're a python person and you only want to have pythons, this is a really cool kind of colubrid-ish python to have. Is a black-headed python or a woma python, which is womas are a little bit more common. There goes some lights. Lights are starting to shut off in the green room. Womas are a little bit more common, and I would say easier just because they're smaller, less expensive. They're really cool snakes. But similar in personality. And I'm just focusing on Banjo here to see what he does. Because where's he going to go from here? Like he wants to keep moving, but we're very close to ending this. Banjo has never mistaked me for food. Maya, you know, I've had Banjo for quite a while. I don't know how long. Has it been a year? It's been a year or almost a year. Maya, you know, when I had her for a year, she had mistaked me for food many times, and Lucy for food. Banjo never has, which I appreciate. He's polite. But he's got a different personality than Maya. So I only have two. So I can't say what black-headed pythons are like. I mean, I can a little bit. They're you know, generally I can say certain things, but these two have different quirks about their personality that I can't say are necessarily black-headed python things. It could just be them. And I don't know because I don't have a bunch of them. And I don't plan to have a bunch of them. I am going to try a little bit of this Redwood Empire. And really, we're not going to go. This is almost a 3-hour live stream, you guys. But because we still have 182 people watching, I've gone this long because people are staying and watching. But we're only going to go just a few more minutes because we're close to 3 hours. Mom says, thanks to all 117 of you who have liked this. That's nice of you, Mom, to push the likes. I appreciate that. Mom's helping out the channel. It's really nice. Yes, these are PVC cages, all from Black Box Cages, which is, they sponsor the channel. And your, oh, Amy, are you flagging me down? Is that, your discount code is GRP. Hi, Amy.
Hi. Hey,
wait, you flagging me down. I just want to show people what I was seeing on my show. I was seeing this.
Yeah, I was trying to tell you that CJ was specifically asking you how big your enclosures are, the ones behind you.
Oh, okay. So, okay. All right.
That's not how I usually flag him down. I'm usually going like this for like over a minute. Like, pay attention to me.
So this didn't mean anything to me, but you were doing something. So
like, it was literally like 2 comments before the comment you highlighted. He was like, "Are those 4-foot enclosures behind you?"
Oh, that's so funny. All right. Thanks, Amy. These are in between that. These are 3-footers. These are 3-foot, and these are 5-foot. These are 5-foot enclosures. I will end up with probably another stack of 5-footers that are going to go here, and then these cages are going to move. But I don't have any 4-foot enclosures, which are the most common size to have. A 4x2x2. I have 3-foots and I have 5-foots. All right. Aside from Banjo, do you have any other snake that you want to see before we end this? Because we probably have time to pull maybe one out really fast before we end it. I'm just looking at the chat. Crisis Corp says 6x2x2 is great. Wait, oh, Anya? Okay. Oh, that's right. You guys were asking for Anya anyway. Anya is in shed right now. Let's see what she's looking like. Hi, babes. Can I pull you out for a second? Oh, this is a big girl. Anya has become a big girl. She is breeding for the first time this year. She's in shed, so she's very brown, but she's always so pretty when she sheds. She is a pretty lady. So there you go. She's still brown. I mean, Kaylee, we had Handsome Dan out earlier in the episode, if you watch earlier. She's still, because she's an adult, and axanthic ball pythons do brown out as adults, but she's a little bit more high contrast and less brown when she sheds. And it looks like she's going to shed tonight or tomorrow, which is pretty cool. But look how big she is. I mean, she's a big girl. I'm excited to get some babies from her. We're going to get some, I'm breeding her with Kodiak. So she's a pastel axanthic het pied. Kodiak is a clown pied. So we're going to get some visual pieds, and they'll all be het for axanthic. They'll all be het for clown. Half of them will be pastel. So it's just a three recessive gene little project here with some pastel in there. And I love pastel with axanthic. It's one of the best pastel combos, in my opinion, is pastel and axanthic. Looks so cool. All right. There goes that lady. So Banjo has kind of kept moving. He's figured out a route, at least. He didn't know where to go. Now he's got it figured out. Mother Truck and Reptiles, I'm glad you made it, but you made it at the tail end. We're shutting this off real soon. But thanks for making it. In fact, you guys, we're at 3 hours and 59 minutes. We're at 3 hours and 1 minute. That might be a record. I don't know. But thanks for being here. I really appreciate you guys. This was super fun. See you Monday. Monday. I'm really excited about Monday's video. I think you're going to like it. All right. Amy, thanks for being here. You're the best. All right. We're ending this stream. Bye, everybody.
Good night, guys. Bye.